At a location where your engineer, Jeff, used to plead with you for no heroics into Santavon, our creators today head to quite possibly what is one of the hardest circuits on the Formula One calendar. We're referencing, of course, the great Monaco Grand Prix, historic in its age. And, well, it's given a new lease of life here this afternoon with the wild card that is coming in play. Our drivers forced into cockpit view. My name is Tom Knight. You're here watching the F1 Creator Series. Alongside me is Tom Wilkinson back in the booth to help call all of the action. Tom, how are you doing?
I'm delighted to be back. Tom squared, back again. I tried to do a Cleopatra coming at you kind of thing, but my creativity is not quite good enough for that. Part-time commentator, part-time professional German Fortnite player, if you know, you know. Looking forward to this one, though. Cockpit Cam, remember, we had it last season at Portimao. It was a banger of a race, had some really nice action there. Obviously, Monaco slightly harder to overtake, but with a certain Alex Gillen starting towards the back of the grid, I think we could be in for a bit of action, potentially some weather as well.
I think we certainly will be. This Monaco race, I think, is going to be one of those greats that completely has it all. I mean, the last time, if we think back, the last time we went there, Season 7, round number 1, I think the first and only red flag that we ever had in the F1 Creator Series caused a little bit of carnage as we headed through the Grand Prix, but that did lead to Alex Gillen getting the fastest lap of the race and subsequently finishing P2 on the grid, just behind one infamous Elray Guri, who got the race win there last time out. But this time, I think things are different. Drivers are going to have to adapt to their new situation this afternoon. And I think a few drivers could be in it for, let's just say, a wild ride.
100%, yeah. You said it was the first race of season number 7. The very first Creator Series race on F1 24, 8 months ago. A lot of time between then, a lot of time for people to hone their skills, a lot of time for people to improve as the championship standings, which we'll look at in a moment, shows. I think this could potentially be the closest Monaco race we've ever had. It's usually very close. We've had some slightly out of the blue pole sitters. Nogueira taking pole last time out in season number 7. This could be very exciting.
Yeah, and of course, let's not forget the wild card that's in play. Cockpit camera. We last saw that Season 8, round number 3, when we headed to Portimao. It won, well, let's just say by a landslide with about 40% of the votes to their name. Razin Chai was the driver that took pole position there that afternoon. Is he going to be able to do it twice in a row on the bounce, or at least this wild card? But it's not just us two in the booth here this afternoon. We have got another member to introduce, taking his first, I believe, expedition into Clipbook Corner. Let's roll out the red carpet because we're at the casino. Alex Heron is the man behind the scenes to help give you all the information that we might not necessarily catch on camera. Alex, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Tom, and Tom, of course, the double Tom as always. And yeah, I'm here for Clipbook, of course. It's all about you guys watching. This is the Creator Series, of course. It's for the fans watching, and you guys can get yourselves clips to show on the stream. So you want to join the Creator Series Discord, you can obviously put your clips that you want to be shown on stream in that chat. I will grab them for you and I will show them on stream. And of course, I'll try and catch the action that maybe Tom and Tom miss during the racing. And I'm sure there's going to be carnage. It's Monaco, it's Cockpit Cam, anything can happen, let's be honest.
Certainly can do indeed. Just while I've got both of you here before we head into standings and obviously into Q1, I'm going to get some early predictions here. For pole position, of course, we spoke about who got it previously. Nogueira at Monaco, Razin Chai for the last time we had this wildcard. Are we expecting maybe a fish out of water here in the Monegasque Harbour?
I'm actually going to go for Razin again. Took pole back in Season 5 when he was driving for Mercedes here at Monaco. So got good history around this circuit, good history in Cockpit Count as well. Did very good at Portimao, converting that pole into a victory. I'm going to back Razin because I think he's back on form after a little bit of a wobble mid-season last time out.
And Alex, what about yourself?
Well, the last time I was here on Creator Series, I bet that GB was going to win his first race for in F1, and he did. So I'm going to say he's going to get pole position around Monaco, because not only is he going to get his first pole around Monaco, but he's also got a brand new hairline as well. So you know, it's all gonna help out. I think in this qualifying session.
I think it certainly will do. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing how he performs with the new, let's just say, improvements that he's had made. Of course, getting 2 wins under his belt, one in Baku and one in Monza just a couple of weeks ago when we headed to the Italian job. But let's go over and have a look at how our standings look for our drivers. Of course, it's Timo Marduk that tops the drivers' standing, 66 points to his name. Alex Gillen just 2 behind For the Visa Cash App Racing Bulls team, Meraki only fought behind Gillen on 60 points. It's so close amongst our field at the moment. I think it could go quite literally anybody's way at the moment.
100%. It's really, really interesting. You know, you look at Tim at MONACO, who's leading the way, has actually only finished on the podium once. This is round 4, of course, but we have had 4 races in the first 3 rounds. Only the 1 podium, which was the win first time out. And Alex Gillen, conversely, has picked up 3 podium finishes, but had that DNF in Monza. So just 2 points separating them. Meraki been very consistent. Formula Cream has not had the rub of the green at all, but did pick up a first win of his Creator Series F1 career at Imola a few weeks ago. GB missed the first round. He's already racked up 48 points in just 2 races. I think this is going to be so competitive. We've got a 13-race season. I wouldn't be surprised if by the time we get to the Mystery Grand Prix to finish off the season and the game cycle, 4, maybe 5 drivers still within a chance.
One thing that has really gone unnoticed, and as you're saying, yeah, rightly so, it could be a number of drivers getting close together. But quick look at the team standings, and this is what I wanted to lay reference to. Aston Martin, GB and that guy Vince have gone under the radar in the opening 4 rounds of this season. It's looked absolutely incredible. Of course, GB got that race win. Vince got a podium at Monza as well. So both drivers are really putting in consistent performances. Yes, Imola didn't quite go their way. I think both of them having slight incidents left, right and centre. But if you look at the numbers on your screen, that's what's really paying the tail at the moment. Alex Gillen and Safso doing well just behind them. But I think some improvements may be needed for some of the drivers further down the order. And well, let's have a look at Q1, ladies and gentlemen. That looks like a rather wet Monaco.
That is damp. Of course, we've got the blue struck tyres. We see Mr. Dale making a return, missed out the last couple of weeks. Delighted to see him back racing in a domain he's very, very familiar in. Usually races in cockpit cam, so I'll be very interested to see how he goes. F1 Alex similar, usually races in cockpit cam as well. So is there going to be a little bit of an advantage for those guys? I'm not 100% sure, because if you remember back to Portimao last season, a lot of drivers were able to adapt quite quickly to the new camera setting, but it is something that we have to bear in mind, of course.
Oh, 100%. One of the things I love about the Creator Series is the sense of community that a lot of our drivers have at the moment. Obviously, everyone forced into cockpit cam, not necessarily accustomed to the situation. Dale jumps in, gives them the camera settings that he uses day in, day out. It's that sense of community, everyone wanting to help each other out. And I originally had on my notes that it was going to be Dan Gilligan replacing Mr. Dale with about 8 hours notice to his name. The wildcard got announced 1 hour and 7 minutes ago as we speak at the moment. And that's as much notice as Dale's had that he's racing this afternoon. He loves cockpit, he loves Monaco. This, if anything, is his domain to do well.
100%. And I think we're all hoping as a collective that we do see him do very well. Slight wobble into Sandoval. No heroics, like we've already said before. He is the first driver out there. Intermediate pole will technically still apply, which is why you saw a couple of drivers with those inter-selected, but it does look quite treacherous at the moment.
It certainly does indeed. I mean, intermediates have looked good over the course of this game cycle. I mean, quite a few drivers opting to run them in wet conditions, but when it comes down to the situation, full wets at a track like this are the ones you want to use. But this is where you've got to pay attention to the tyres everybody's going to be using. 3 minutes left on our clock for Inter's pole position, and I think no one managing to get a time on the board thus yet. Of course, they've got to take it incredibly slowly if they don't want to find themselves in one of the barriers, quite infamously, that lay abreast both sides of this circuit.
100%, and that's going to be the key factor here. This is the one track that you don't want to find yourself making a complete mess of qualifying, starting right at the back. And Alex Gillen, as I was just about to mention there, he has got a qualifying ban. He will be starting from 20th and last place. We are returning to the full qualifying format, Q1, Q2 and Q3, as Mr. Dale taps the barrier, not for the first time on this flying lap. We've got an RB in front. That'll be Safso, who is on the intermediate compound tyres. Scott Taylor picks up a 5-place grid penalty. Not sure where that is. I think that's in the middle sector somewhere. Maybe a kerfuffle going through the Nouvelle chicane, but cutting the beam, Safso 29.6, over 3 seconds a lap faster on the wet tyres is Dale.
Yeah, you can see how close all of our drivers are heading through that third and final section, through the swimming pool section, back up towards the tunnel. We see Timo Mardik making his way through this chicane. It was Tess Will that actually went off as he ran down towards the Nouvelle chicane. Saw Mercedes off at the escape road, or what's left of it there at the moment. Unfortunately, not finding too much damage. Lap time's coming in thick and fast now. Nick flies across the board, 140.2 off that earlier contact with Scott Taylor. Safso at the moment holding intermediate pole position, albeit Dale going faster on the full wet. But people are starting to set rather rapid lap times. Formula Karim being one of those. Purple in the middle sector, according to the game, comes up through the final corner, through Anthony Knowles, and would have got the DRS wing open if it weren't for the torrential rain that we find ourselves. Goes fastest with a 1:25.715 for Team McLaren. And at the moment, with 1 minute and 12 seconds on Inter's pole, GB can't quite do enough.
Just over a tenth down. Look at these conditions. It is absolutely bucketing it down as Tim at Mardik, almost like he's trying to steer a boat through the first sector there, through Beaurivage and Massenet corner. Still a nice deal split between the Inters and the wets. You have to say, those are competitive times from Karim and GB on the Inters to go straight in there quicker than a couple of wet laps. Dale returning to the pits on his 26.599. Matati on the wet compound tyres drifting under braking into the Nouveau chicane. These are very, very tricky conditions. I would not be surprised if we see a few drivers fueled up for a couple of laps. You've got to try and get into a rhythm, find that flow around a circuit like Monaco, because that can set you up very nicely for the latter stages.
You certainly do indeed. Hayden Gullis did start to attempt his reverse lap, as he always does here in the F1 Create Series, unfortunately, and somehow ran wide at turn 1. Discuss that amongst yourselves if you so wish, at the speed that he would have been going, rather breakneck if you ask me. Lolly Nova across the line, 1:25.878, 0.003 of a second slower than GB did on his previous best attempt. But if these early lap times are showing anything comparatively, it's that the Inters are certainly better than full wets at present.
Yeah, we know that the wet tyres are terrible in real life, and they're not much better on the game, to be honest. Nogueira looking very unstable as Formula Cream, with a massive improvement on his second flying lap. Finds nearly 2 seconds to jump into the 23s. Dat Gavitz in the second Aston Martin jumps up into second place on the blue stripe wet compound tyre. So they're obviously very similarly matched in pace. Nogueira jumping into 5th place, now down into 6th as Formula Kai relegates from a further spot. 2 tenths separating them, but Formula Cream, that is a marker put down straight away. Tim at Mardik also getting his first time on the board of 24.6.
Certainly is indeed. Formula Karim didn't even need to improve there to gain Inter's pole position. He managed to hold it. Vince, of course, securing that a quick lap time on the full wet tyres. Watching along with Meraki in the Rebel. 9 wins, 35 podiums over 83 race starts. And going side by side with Hayden Gullis here through the third and final sector. Maybe just taking a little bit of appreciation. Vince over the team radio, though. I'm a little bit fast.
Well, that's positive. That's a good sign. And Meraki smashes the benchmark set by Formula Cream. That is a very quick time, considering how much he was getting compromised through the swimming pool sector by the Williams, obviously Meraki's former team. Of course, this is going to be a fascinating qualifying session. You've got to be on the right tyres at the right time, got to be on the track at the right time, because these are going to continue to tumble, and you do not want to find yourself being part of the 5 that get eliminated.
Certainly not indeed. I think a lot of drivers may not be appreciative that this is coming their way. Full qualifying, of course, making its return since last time out and last season. Drivers might forget that they are going for the full length of this qualifying session. We can no longer ignore what it says on the top left-hand side. This is going to be a full Q1, Q2 and Q3 session. I think Infratic, who, let's just say, hasn't had the best of relationships with Cockpit Cam, yet alone Monaco, maybe might not be a best bet for pole position here.
Not in qualifying, but I tell you what, some of his race results at Monaco are actually pretty decent. He's got a couple of 5th places in Season 5 and Season 2 all the way back on F1 22. Tesla looking a little bit unstable coming out of to back corner, trying to match the time that his teammate has set. Lolanova's going pretty quickly in the first sector. Nogueira going quickly in the middle sector as well. Times continuing to tumble as Formula Karim improves. Does he? No, he doesn't.
No pits. Into the pits for one McLaren. Nick Fly's the other driver out at the moment, just making their way through the Nobel chicane. Yellow flags left, right and centre. Meraki going fastest now with a 1:21.567, 1.6 seconds or so quicker than Tess Will's best attempt at the last time of asking. Just to keep you updated, if you are just tuning in for the very first time on this broadcast, first question, where have you been? Second answer for you, Alex Gillen serving a qualifying ban. That's why he's retired early. Scott Taylor, out of absolutely nowhere, goes up to 3rd place, joins Lolly Nova in the top 3. And at the moment, the Haas boy is looking very strong indeed.
Yeah, on 2 different tyre compounds as well, because I believe Lolanoba is on the intermediates. Yes, he is, confirming there. Razin Chai, we haven't seen him so far. He is still in the pits, just applying that weight reduction upgrade, as you can see what he's just dropped in the chat to tell us all.
Just making sure that he's under the regulatory weight, just making sure that he can participate in this afternoon's race. One driver that I think we haven't pointed out much of yet, Dale goes fastest with a 1:21.405. The man who said he was more comfortable in a cockpit than necessarily driving on British roads has just put that Red Bull racing car out of reach of quite a few drivers. That surely has to give that man some confidence for the streets here this afternoon.
It's going to put a few eyes on Storks, mainly the drivers that are in the pit lane at the moment, because you can see the rain has significantly subsided. Tess Will up to the line, just misses out by 0.03 of a second. It is Dale leading the way at the moment, halfway through qualifying one. Meraki's just returned to the pits in the second Red Bull. Interesting looking top five, I think everybody has to say. Dale, Tess Will, Meraki less so than Lolan Ober and Scott Taylor. 1.4 seconds separating the quintet. A lot of drivers still in the pits, a lot of drivers that haven't got a competitive time on the board.
Yeah, and of course, don't forget Hayden Gullis just jumped up to P6, finished off a lap just in the last couple of moments ago. F1 Alex, who's up in P7 at the moment, yet to finish in the top 10 of an F1 race here in the F1 Crate Series. Of course, did rather well in the F2 back in his day as we watched Vince getting prepped and ready for another hot lap attempt. Down at P9 and feels like a 1:24.1 isn't quite safety in this afternoon's endeavours. You've got two drivers down at the bottom, Razin Chine and Fratic, both of them yet to set a lap time. We'll see taking their time with the full qualifying endeavours that we're about to see this afternoon. So feel they've got a little bit of leeway in terms of performance that they can run. And well, let's see what they can put on the board in the next 7.5 minutes.
Well, looking at how much it's dried out, I wouldn't be surprised if we get potentially close to slick tyre running come the end of the session. It's definitely going to be much quicker on the green stripe intermediate tyre. So you've got to get out there and get yourself in a decent position. Maybe give yourself a little margin for error if you do make a mistake on that final run. You might be able to squeak through if other drivers also make mistakes late on in the session. Tess Will now to the top. Takes nearly 0.8 of a second out of Dale's time. Big slide coming out of Portier for the Aston Martin of Datkovitz. Still very tricky conditions. It's Tess Will leading the way just under the 1 minute 20.8 barrier.
Yeah, Vince over the team radio. Let's go a little bit faster, maybe. A lot of confidence in that Aston Martin this afternoon. We saw some of his community coming into chat a moment ago, just explaining that he wasn't necessarily confident under the wet weather conditions. Found himself going faster and faster as Ricky for Team Williams goes faster for 1:19.830. We got 6 minutes and 25 left on the clock. We got just under 6 minutes until rain ceases, according to our weatherman on the ground. Let's see what Vince can do as we run up towards the line. Is this track improving? Yes, it most certainly is. 1:20.009, just over 2/10 as Formula Kai, out of absolutely nowhere, goes almost 8/10 quicker. The track is getting better. Drivers are getting faster. Tom, we are in for one heck of a Q1 here.
A big name is going to be caught out here. Somebody's going to get the timing wrong. Nagera nearly clattering into a Haas that is exiting the pits. Not sure who it was. That was a bit of a brown pants moment as he jumps up into fourth place, 20.1. Over a second down on Formula Kai, who leads the way. Hayden Gullis is purple in the middle sector. Thought I'd never say that before.
Well, don't forget, he's got 2 pole positions to his name, albeit highly contested. He's gone deep, though, as he heads into Raskas. He won't be happy about that. I was told he'd be racing with a helmet on as well. Just only take that off the quali. It's not often that we see a Hayden Gullis focusing in a qualifying session. P7 is where he stands at the moment, maybe with some time to find. He's gone deep at Santa Von, very carefully, not into the wall there, but that could have been a qualifying ender for Hayden von der Gullis.
100%, and he should be much higher as well with that mistake he made into the penultimate corner of Raskas. That looked like Matati tapped the barrier there on the run-up into Raskas corner and sliding through Antonino's for good measure as well. Will this be the fastest time of the session? Formula Kai still top at a 19.0. Matati 1.4 seconds down on a 20.4.
Yeah, times are certainly improving. Under 5 minutes to go. This is going to get quick, folks, as the rain does continue to fall. We've got a Ferrari just parked up as we're about to head in towards the tunnel. Hayden Gullis just giving a little bit of love tap there a moment ago. That Ferrari, obviously, I think is in Fratic. Both himself and Razin Chai finally deciding to take a trip out of the pit lane, get some experience under their belts. They both sit in 19th and 20th at the moment. We'll be hoping for a slightly higher start than that. And speaking of higher starts, GB will be hoping for one higher than his new hairline.
He most certainly will. Down in 15th place, the driver at risk at the moment as Meraki gets very close to him, validating as he cuts the second part of the Nouvelle Chicane, now attacking up to turn number 12 off to back corner. Lovely corner in the dry, a little bit sketchy in the wet, and slightly wide through the, well, definitely wide through the swimming pool section because he's invalidated. That's going to be crucial with just 4 minutes to go.
Certainly will be. He won't be too happy, albeit if he's got enough fuel, he's got the ability to go again. But I think we're going to see a few corner cutting penalties here this afternoon. Drivers won't necessarily have the reference points that they're used to sitting in T-cam when their camera is reduced in height. by about a couple of feet. They're put into that cockpit cam and all their usual margins go out the window. Fabio in towards the pit lane, deciding not this time. He's got 3 minutes and 40 seconds left to do a lap, so he's got enough time to try and get out again. Razin nice and calmly through Saint-Devant, up the hill through Beau Rivage and Massenet. And this is what he's going to be able to do. Has the pole position of the all-time pole position record, 15 to his name. Unfortunately, yet to secure one here in Season 9.
100%. 3 different pole sitters so far. The first one was Formula Cream and Kota. Then in the one qualifying session we had in Monza, it was Grid Joke slightly out of nowhere in the second Mercedes ahead of Nogueira and Tim at MONACO, who picked up a penalty. And then last week in Austria, it was GB by quite a distance as well. He was definitely the fastest over 1 lap. Ricciardo 3 jumps up into second place. Dak Vince has improved as well. All 3 of the drivers in the top 3, comfortably inside the 1 minute 19s at the moment. Got to find time for a couple of drivers. Tim at Bartlett with his first competitive time on the Inters, 19.77 down on Formula Kai.
Tim Roddick, one of those drivers that can put in a performance in cockpit camera. We saw that in Portugal as Razin just playing teasing with the barriers, managing to stay out of them, and he's got to hope to all that is holy that he can keep this lap valid. He doesn't have long left on the timing screen. I think the rain has pretty much stopped nothing on his cockpit there, as Meraki does go fastest, 1:18.8 for Team Red Bull. Let's see what Razin can do as he run up towards the line. Absolutely smashes it by over 0.2 of a second. Razin Team Alpine currently hold the top step. What can other people do as they run up towards the line? Nick Flies will be one of them. And let's see what he can do for Team McLaren here, running up towards the line, beating out Formula Career across the line. It's only P13, surely not safety for himself.
Yeah, definitely not safe. And Tim at Mark as well on a 19.7. I don't think he's going to be safe either. And I tell you what, there's going to be time in Razin because it was a little bit messy that first lap, was it? But still managing to go fastest, albeit just for the time being. GB now takes that away by nearly 0.6 of a second. 18.0. Who's now in the bottom 5? It is Lolinoba, who is invalidated on this run. It's only going to get one more in this session, you would imagine. Safso's down there, hasn't got a competitive time, and Lolinoba's got damage. So that is going to be the end of his qualifying session, 16th and out.
Yeah, Lolinoba, front wing damage, as you said. That is, a heartbreaking way to end his qualifying run. Formula Karim, I think, just tapping the barrier there through Saint-Devant, but he won't be too concerned as he runs up the hill through Beau Rivage, making sure to get this car nice and balanced. I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see slick tyres coming out with just a couple of moments to go. The rain has well and truly stopped. Meraki goes fastest, 17.3 for Team Red Bull, pipping out GB's attempt just a few moments ago. Minute 10 on our clock, and everybody will be rushing to the line here, including Infratic, who's yet to set a lap time.
Times are tumbling. Formula Cream is the biggest driver under pressure at the moment. Meraki taking the fastest time back with a 17.3. Razin quick as well, 17.5. Tim at Mark's got a decent time on the board. Cream was fastest through the first sector, 20.2. A little bit unsteady in this middle sector though, especially going through the Lowe's hairpin.
Certainly was indeed. I think that Inter's pole hasn't necessarily played well for him. He can't find the car balance on the intermediates on a dry track. It's purple through the middle sector though. He's certainly looking to improve as we head through the swimming pool section in towards Raskas. He's got to get this crucially correct, and he's got one more corner to navigate. Well, 2 corners if you call it that. 18-19. Anthony Knowles, DRS becomes enabled. Here we go, final laps of the session. Formula Karim goes fastest.
He still could be under pressure though, because there are a lot of drivers out there, and this track is just going to continue to get faster, especially with the DRS enabled. Nick Fly starting his final lap of the session. Few drivers might not get round to start a flying lap. I'm looking at Ricciardo 3 in the Williams. I'm looking at Safso, who's just crossed the line. Here's Mr. Dell. Was fastest a few moments ago, now down in 14th on a 20.2. Ricky's done, so is Lolinoba. Over the line we go with Dale, and it's a 16.7. Third fastest for the time being. Meraki's in the pits, and so is Razin Chai.
Infratic just scrapes himself through P8 for the Ferrari on a one-run wonder. Safso is surely at risk now. I don't know if he's going to be able to try and pull his way through. Test will be next up towards the line though. Team Mercedes, of course, his teammate Team Marduk pulls himself to safety. P4, that drops Scott Taylor into the worry zone. Nick Flies has got a job to do, as does Safso. Hayden Gullis has retired back to his dormitory. Next across the line will be Scott Taylor, or both Aston Martin boys who are in towards the pit lane. So yeah, it'll be the Haskar of Taylor. Comes through the final couple of corners now. Can he secure himself from safety? GB goes fastest, immediately replaced by Formula Guy. 15.0 for the Kick Sauber. Let's have a look further back. Scott Taylor gets himself to safety. F1 Alex next in worries. He goes third fastest. Nick Flies as Karim goes faster now. Can Nick Flies and relegate that guy Vince out of Q1 here? Up towards the line he will run. Is he going to go faster? Yes, he does. That guy Vince, who had all the pace in early stages when it was raining, gets knocked out at the first time of asking.
I think Safso on the soft compact tyres does get through in third position. Very decent lap in the end. And we have got a couple of big names that did fall by the wayside. Ricky 03 has been in the top 10 in every qualifying session so far. He's 16th. And that guy Vince for Aston Martin down is 17th as well, joining Alex Gillen in taking an early shower.
That's not what he'd like to see. And Fratic getting through by the skin of his teeth, just over 0.2 of a second. Separating Fabio and Ricky 03 down in P15 and P16 respectively, who will have his work cut out should we see him perform well in Q2. The only driver to get a lap on the slick tyres being Safso up in P3, but still 0.6 off the pace of Formula Krim and Formula Kai, who have looked so strong under intermediate conditions here, Tom.
Well, Formula Kai in particular, I'm amazed at the pace that he had. You know, he's not usually a driver you'd associate with being fastest by a really comfortable margin. Formula Cream maybe a little bit less, considering he picked up pole in Kota, but that is a big shot to see Kai right at the front. And if he can continue that, he's got a really decent shot of being in the top 5, maybe on the front row.
Certainly does indeed. Well, we saw a fantastic qualifying from our perspective here. Let's throw it over to one Alex Heron over in Clipper Corner. What have you seen that we might have not?
Well, I've seen a few things, but amazingly, I realised I've got 3 clips from Scott. But we're going to start off with the clip from GB. Now, GB said very carefully on the radio, got to be careful here, guys, it's a bit slippery. And GB proceeds to come out the pit lane and almost immediately bin it into the wall. As he brings a face of, yeah, it's a bit tricky out here, for sure. But he luckily came out and did eventually get a good lap on the board. And then we're going to start off with Scott. He had an eventful qualifying and did actually get into Q2. But it didn't start off great for him as he goes through this middle sector here. He's actually managed to drop it, and not only drop it, he then proceeds to reverse into the McLaren, which is what gives him his 5th-place grid penalty. So that didn't go great for Scott. And then I think you mentioned this on commentary, Tom. You're wondering who the Haas was that almost got taken out by that Ferrari. It was Scott again, as it was very close to being wiped out by Nogueira there in that first sector. And the final clip, once again, from Mr. Scott Taylor, is, I just thought, a very nice reaction, because he was down in 15th place. He thought he might get knocked out. And obviously he comes up the line almost 4 seconds up on his delta. He jumped up into 4th, and you can see how happy and excited he was by getting into Q2. But obviously we go now into Q2, and I think it's a dry session.
Certainly is indeed. The rain has gone away. It will come back and play another day here in Monaco. We're ready to go for our second of the 3 qualifying sessions of the afternoon. Big names knocked out in Q1, big names making it through as well. Some expected, some rather unexpected, including potentially Scott Taylor, who I'm going to say looked over the moon to be through to Q2 here, Tom.
That was a beautiful reaction. As Alex said, lovely to see a driver so excited to make it into the top 15, and he timed it absolutely perfectly, I have to say, did Scott. Did very, very well, ended up P5 or P6 in the end. P6, I would imagine, because he's 6th at the moment on the timing tower. Very well done, Scott.
Certainly is indeed. Every driver getting themselves prepped and ready. Safso and Mr. Dale will be the first 2 to start to set the laps out here this afternoon. They've had practice and wet weather conditions. We now practice under dry running, and everyone will be thankful. I think the rain has ceased, at least for the time being. Maybe a few birdies on our shoulder told us that it may return for the race scenario in a few moments' time. But for now, the sun is glowing beautifully here in the coastal town, the coastal country that is Monaco. It is looking absolutely stunning for our drivers here this afternoon.
The Côte d'Azur, that's what they call it, isn't it? The lovely place of Monte Carlo. I think it should stay on the calendar forever, to be honest. I know that's not an opinion held by a lot of F1 fans in the modern day, but it's the historical aspect of Monaco that we've got to keep in check.
You're absolutely right. I'd love to see some modifications. Dale goes really deep there in towards Raskas Corner. He won't have the best lap time on the board, but it is certainly a learning opportunity. But as we're saying, so maybe a few adjustments. As an Aston Martin almost gets taken out again. That pit lane exit, I think, is going to be a crucial point to watch over the course of this Grand Prix. We've had an incident in Q1. We've almost had an incident in Q2. Are we going to go, let's say 3 for 3? What are your cards laying down, Tom?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if we see more. That was Code Brown version number 2 as Scott Taylor comes out of Anthony Nose. Can he eclipse Dale on a 10.0? Scott to the line by a couple of tenths. It is a 9.7. I wonder what happened to Safso. Immediately, Scott is bumped down into second place with the Alpine of Matati, 9.6. We're going to continue to see these times tumble as they come more acclimatised to not only the track conditions, but continue to get up to speed in the cockpit cam view. F1 Alex jumping into third place, yet to qualify inside the top 10 so far in his Creator Series F1 career. Will this be the day? He's looking pretty speedy so far.
Certainly is. He loves Monaco on his day. I've raced and commentated over Alex for well, the better part of a year and a bit now. He loves Monaco. He loves this track. It's technical, and it's one of the circuits that I think he will do really well at, especially in cockpit camera, his native view from what I remember as well. Nogueira all very deep as he headed into the Grand Hotel hairpin, almost replicated what happened to his teammate Fabio, if you remember back to season 7, binning it as he headed through Casino Corner up at the top of the hill. If anyone's got the clip of seeing Dale's reaction to that, I will recommend go watch. If you need cheering up on a down day, go watch Dale's reaction to Fabio crashing at that race. It's something that never fails to make me laugh.
Yeah, there's probably only one person whose day it won't brighten up, and I think that is Fabio himself. Nogueira, not purple through the middle sector, was a little bit unstable, like you said, going into the Lowe's hairpin. Got to try and attack this final sector as much as he possibly can, and the two Ferraris, they need some points, don't they, this season? Hasn't been the best of starts for the Scarlet outfit. Emphatic with the best qualifying of 14th so far this season. Nogueira started second in Monza, but then got caught out in a bit of a whoopsie, let's say, earlier on with grid jokes and jumping up only into 5th place with that mistake in the middle sector.
Yeah, it's not been the best season for the boys in red. Of course, an all-Portuguese lineup heading into towards season 7. Safso's retired nice and early. That looks to me like that could be in the pit lane for Team Vicar. I'm not 100% sure what happened to Safso. I'm sure we can get comment from him later on as well. Watching on board with GB as he heads into Ras. Has a little bit of lock-up, but he's invalidated, yeah.
Not ideal at all. Was actually purple in the first and middle sector, so that's a bit of a blunder there from GB. What time would it have been? It would have been at 8.8 miles quicker than everybody else. So the pace is in the green machine. The Aston Martin, and straight away invalidates over turn 1 as well.
We said it could happen. We said it's probably going to be a frequent occurrence come the cockpit cam wildcard. Oh, that's something hard to say 3 times quickly in a row. But I think we're going to see penalties here this afternoon. We're going to see those track limit warnings accumulate rather fast and furiously. And our drivers have to do their best to try and negate as much of them as they can.
100%, yeah. Track limits are going to be very, very important. And if you can just get a little bit too lazy, especially if you're feeling a bit more comfortable maybe in that cockpit cam view, a little bit lazy, taking too much curb, trying to get that best run, and then your lap is absolutely ruined, and potentially get some 3-second penalties to add on top of that as well.
Certainly has indeed. And well, there we go. Stat from Frasic. Last week's DNF took him to 14 in the Creator Series. 3rd highest at a 25% chance of not finishing the race. I believe the 2 drivers with a higher percentage than himself are F1 Alex, who currently sits at 50%. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. I stand corrected by my producer in the background.
I know who one of them is. I can tell you that for free.
I mean, I know F1 Alex has a 50% DNF rate in the F1 Creator Series. That's all I'm saying.
I'm imagining that Mr. Dale's probably the other one. Emphatic over the line, and it's 1.1 down. Formula Kai continues to impress. First driver technically into the 1 minute 8s, 108.9. GB did do that, invalidated 108.8. So it's a little bit of time for a couple of drivers. But Formula Kai not just looking good for Q3, looking good for a very, very high position on the grid.
Certainly did indeed. Well, you've got 14 drivers left, 7 minutes and 45 seconds left of this qualifying session. Q2 here this afternoon. Let's see who can try and put out a performance. We've still got MONACO, we've still got GB, Raz and Chai, Team Robotic and Formula Career, yet to set lap times. 5, I can't count this afternoon. 5 very quick names that are yet to make an impression on the Monegasque streets.
Yeah, all of the big names remaining in the pits for the time being. GB on a flyer at the moment, though, looking very, very solid. Fastest in the middle sector with a 32.6 for the second part of the lap. A little bit of a lock-up coming into Le Rascasse as we approach Anthony Nose. Try not to knock the inside barrier, because that can really put you out of kilter, or tear the tyre from the car over the line. It's a 1 minute 9.2, 4/10 slower than the 108.8 that he invalidated, but I don't think he'll be too concerned by that on some tyres that are definitely scrubbed.
Yeah, most certainly. New tyres will be required at the start of the session. I think a lot of drivers may be concerned about the use of tyres after a full qualifying session. Of course, I don't think there's a session restart, they'll have to go on whatever scrub set of tyres they have available to them. Purple in the middle sector for the Red Bull of Meraki. Down in P14 at the moment. He's got 3 more corners to navigate. 17, 18, 19. Now just 2 more to go of Anthony Knowles. And let's see what he's able to try and produce. 14th on the board at the moment. He'll come across the line to set a time on our board. P2 for Meraki. 109.036. Just 68 thousandths of a second off what Formula Kai, my apologies, has laid down in the first instance.
Yeah, solid start that for the Season 4 champion. He can build on it as the session goes on. Razin Chai quickest in the first sector by a couple of tenths, 18.1. Closest match to that is actually the pole sitter, or provisional pole sitter, Formula Kai, with an 18.3. So Razin, we've spoken about, he's got a bit of history here at Monaco. Couple of pole positions to his name. Potentially could add one.
Certainly could do indeed. Just over 5 minutes left. We've got a bit of a downtime now. Drivers will take this opportunity to just rest, recuperate, think about their lap times, maybe analyse with their engineers as well. There's a few drivers out on laps. Obviously, Meraki, F1 Alex, Karim on an out lap, as is Dale now, and Razin Chai up towards the line. Where can he lay down on his opening run? Well, it's going to be a force to be reckoned with. Razin Chai, 108.685, the fastest of any driver at the moment. F1 Alex trying to beat that out, but unfortunately invalidates as he headed into the Nouvelle Chicane.
100%. And we say it every week as well, you've got to treat these soft compound tyres like gold dust. No hard compound tyres if you're new to the Creator Series. We have banished them. They would be quite useful around a circuit like Monaco because they could probably do the entire race distance. The Kick Sauber returns to their pits after that invalidation. The rain that we saw in Q1 is going to help them maintain some of their soft tyres, but you've got to baby them a little bit.
I think you certainly do. You've got to look after them. We'll see quite a few scrub sets being put on some cars, maybe not even fresh sets being used until we get to the ultimate, well, the last minute situations in Q2 and Q3. Drivers will try at all costs to escape out of the drop zone. No one really wants to go and have an early shower, maybe unless you got it pre-prepared. No, Hayden Gullis had dinner ready and waiting for him as he exited Q1, so that's probably what he's up to at the moment, but everybody else will be itching to try and get out in towards the top 10.
And I was a little bit nervous for Karim there, just locking the rears slightly on the run down into Sandoval, almost drifting through the apex of turn number 1, but managed to catch the slide. And, well, I mean, he's fully committed through this first set. A couple of tenths down on Razin Chai's personal best of that 18.1, but not looking too bad at the moment.
And you know, I'm watching the technique that Karim's using here. He absolutely throws the car into some of these corners. Some of them, they're really smooth. Some of them, he's so aggressive on that front wheel. He almost hopes and waits for those tyres to grip up and then rotate the car in such a fashion. As we head into the Nouvelle Chicane here, let's see what he does. There we go, massive flick of the wheel, gets the car rotated. And it's such an interesting driving style that some of our drivers are using.
It's obviously a technique that works very close to tapping the barrier and the exit off to back, but also shows that you've got confidence in the setup and the car, that you know you can throw the car in as hard as possible, almost like what Fernando Alonso used to do back in the Renault days. Absolutely ram on all of the steering lock and he will know the car will stick, and then you can just pull away through the corner and you'll be off into the sunset. Karim cutting the beam, picking up that time, was 2 tenths down on Razin Chai through the first sector, ending that over 2 tenths ahead of Razin Chai with a 108.4.
Yeah, Razin Chai, early shower for himself, hoping that his time, I'm almost certain, will be good enough to make it through to Q3. Driver sat in P2 at the moment, I think, with a little bit of safety just further behind him. Timo Mardik yet to set a lap time. The Australian will be looking to try and get on the board as he runs up towards Saint Devot and see what he's able to try and produce. He's got his teammate just in tow further behind. Of course, Tess Will also out on a lap through Beaurivage, through Massenet they will go. And out of the first sector, what sort of times are they starting to lay down? Purple in the middle sector for Timo Mardik.
Yeah, that 18.3 that we've seen so many drivers do. Karim 18.3, Formula Kai 18.3, Meraki 18.3, GB 18.4, and now Tim at Mardik 18.3. Still a little bit down on what Razin Chai did, but Razin has not got a particularly quick final sector, only a 17.9 compared to Karim, who's 3 tenths faster there.
Yeah, quite often we'll see drivers lose time at Raskas through Anthony Noel as well. That's where they kind of have to have the technical abilities and the straight line speed. Some of the corners here, Monaco require one or the other. The third and final sector kind of require everything to come together. Some call it the perfect definition of a racetrack. Some call it, well, let's just say hell on tarmac. Let's see what Timo Mardik tries to call it as he heads through the final couple of corners. Where is he going to be able to place that Mercedes car on our timing board at the moment? Can he go close to his teammate, or can he go closer towards his rivals at the top? Timo Mardik up towards the top where he belongs.
And that looked quite unsteady there for Nogueira for the second time this session, going through the lows hairpin. Test will improve, but only into 11th place, and you feel that that's going to be his qualifying session over. Not a lot of time left in the session. I don't know how much fuel he'll have left and how much tyres he'll have left as well.
I think that's the ultimate question, not necessarily thinking about fuel, because drivers can think ahead and prepare for that. Is that Ferrari giving a toe to a McLaren potentially? Nogueira, I'm assuming, helping out Nick Fleiss as an outlap. Maybe just a little bit fun racing between the two of them as they try and race back towards that timing beam to get a lap in before the inevitable checkered flag on this Q2 session. But Nogueira, of course, starting pole last time. No, he didn't. He didn't start pole last time. I ignore it. Yes, he did. I'm getting my own stats mixed up here, folks. Apologies for that. I'm starting from pole last time out in Monaco. We'll be looking to try and replicate the same, but he's got to get through to Q3 first.
And GB's making heavy weather of this as well. Invalidated again. I'm imagining that's going to be into Sainte Devote for the second time in this session. So got to try and get this lap on the board. I wouldn't say he's safe at the moment. I know he's 8/10ths clear of Test Will in 11th place, but you've got some fast drivers down there. Nogueira, Infratic can pull out a lap from time to time. We saw the pace that Dale had in Q1 as well, and Scott Taylor going nicely in the middle sector also.
Certainly is indeed. We saw the reaction when he got through to Q3. Red Bull just moving out the way. I'm going to assume that's Meraki or Mr. Dale, one of the two, as he progresses his way through the lap, up towards the timing beam. Where's he going to go? Scott Taylor towards the line, 1 place improvement, half a second, there or thereabouts. P7 is where he finds himself at the moment as our top 3 continue to retire. Karim, Razin and Tia Marduk deciding that they've had enough of this Q2 session, decided they have gone fast enough as well, pretty much confirmed that Safso will start in P15. Let's not forget Scott Taylor has that 5-place grid penalty that he accumulated back in Q1.
Very, very good point. Very, very good point. So wherever he starts, he's going to be compromised a little bit. The checkered flag is waving. So these are the laps that have got to count. Nogueira, currently only 13th, unlucky at the moment. Jumps up just inside the top 10 into 8th place. Can that Scarlet car remain in there? Nick Fleiss missing out by just under 2/10 of a second. It'll only be 1 Papaya McLaren in qualifying 3. Can Infratic make it 2? Scarlet Red Ferrari cars into Q3. Pulling up to the line now as he cuts the beam. Doesn't look particularly quick, and it is not only a 10-0. Misses out Infratic.
Doesn't improve, unfortunately. Well, it does improve by about 7/10 of a second. Dale goes straight on at the Nouvelle chicane, crashes himself out of this session. Q2 will be his demise, as that was over the line. Scott Taylor on the team radio, hoping that he's done enough. Tesswell couldn't go quicker. Nick Fleiss couldn't go quicker. Neither can Infratic or Mr. Dale. So that is going to be Scott Taylor through to Q3. GB in towards the pit lane, as is Matati and Mr. Taylor himself. And let's get a live reaction, see how he's doing. There is all smiles on the face of the Scotsman.
Yeah, looking very, very happy with himself. And in qualifying in particular in his Creator Series career, he's done very well. Remember back to Brazil a couple of seasons ago where he qualified on the front row and he's got himself into Q3. Won't start on the front row, of course, with that 5-place grid penalty, but enjoying himself around the streets of Monte Carlo. Got a shout out F1 Alex as well, making it into the top 10. 9th fastest, both Kick Saubers in Q3. Matati sneaking in there for Alpine as well.
Yeah, F1 Alex at the moment hasn't finished in the top 10. He's going to certainly qualify within the top 10 for this afternoon's endeavours. But I think the battle now comes down to pole position. Let's run through your complete order in Q2. Karim Razin Chai, Formula Kai, Tim Marduk, Meraki, GB, Scott Taylor, Nogueira, F1 Alex, TTV, and Matati will be progressing through to Q3. And then it's Nick Fleiss, Test Will, Mr. Dale, and Infratic, and of course Safso taking an early bath. No more racing or no more qualifying for them, at least for the next few minutes. Everybody else, the remaining 10, well, we'll go for the battle for pole position, the final shootout that we have on the streets.
And they certainly will. And I think there are a few drivers that have still kept their cars very close to their chest. We haven't seen too much from Tim at Marduk so far. It's only really been Formula Cream that has really put the hammer down. GB hasn't also managed to get that flying lap in that he would have wanted. Did do an 8.8 but got it invalidated and then having to set times on older sets of tyres. Razin looks quick also. Could be a lot closer than it potentially looks at the minute.
It certainly could. Q3 moments away here, but let's throw it over to the place that has a fireplace and a cosy book to read. It's Alex Aaron over in Clipbook Corner.
Well, I actually only have 2 clips for you, and actually one of them is only from Q2. I did some investigation in Q1 to find out what happened to that guy Vince, but we'll get to that in a minute. So this was, once again, I think as Tom poetically put, Brown Trouser Moment V2. Which obviously coming out of the pit lane, GB experience with Mr. Dale, who unfortunately did get knocked out in that session. I believe there was maybe some blocking from Scott Taylor, but I didn't capture that on film, so I can't confirm it. But he did say he felt bad for Dale, so I'm putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with 5. But it's fine. And this was, if you want to know what happened to that guy Vince, because I was watching his stream back and I was like, I wonder how he got knocked out of qualifying. And this is the reason. So he's just coming through the tunnel now. The track is drying, and in front you can see that Hayden Gullis has actually retired and put it into the wall on those soft tyres. And unfortunately for that guy Vince, there's nothing he can do because there's a Williams parked halfway across the circuit, and that is the end of his session. And unfortunately, he gets knocked out from that. So if you wanted to know what happened to that guy Vince, that is what happened.
Well, Vince not looking too happy with the reaction. Of course, we had let's just say a disappearing Haskar last week at Austria. Now we have Hayden Gullis living up to the car park name that he got infamously back in Baku just last season, if I remember correctly, causing yet another car park here in Monaco, which are infamously hard spaces to find, if a lot of people have told me the truth.
Yeah, that's not great at all. Heart goes out to Vince there because he was looking pretty quick, surprisingly quick by his own words there. Didn't expect to be so fast in the wet and would have been comfortably through, probably into Q3 as well, judging by the pace that he has shown so far this season in particular. But wasn't to be, and he's going to have to start from a lonely P17.
He certainly will do indeed. F1 Alex will be the first driver out on a lap time, closely followed by Matati just down in P9 at the moment. The Kick Sauber, both of them through to the third qualifying session at the moment. And of course, don't forget, if you have got clips from anywhere else across the internet that revolves around the Monaco Grand Prix here this afternoon, feel free to chuck them in our Discord in the stream clips. I'm sure Alex will be hopping over there in a couple of moments' time just to check out everything that goes on. But with 9 minutes and 38 seconds at time of recording here, Tom, who is your prediction for pole position? Has it changed from when we spoke before the session started?
I'm going to continue to back the same horse. I'm going to go with Razinchado, Formula Cream, looking very, very quick. And like I said as well, we haven't seen the full hand shown from Tim McMurdoch or from GB68, but I'm going to stick with the Alpine of Razinchai.
Fair enough. I think I can't remember who I predicted for pole position right at the start. I'm going to assume it was
Alex Gillen?
Oh, it was. I hope it wasn't, because he had a qualifying ban. But let us know in the live chat wherever you may be watching, whether that's Twitch, YouTube, I mean even Twitter as well, who your prediction is on for pole position here this afternoon. 2 entries in the final showdown have been laid down. Matati with a 109.4, F1 Alex with a 109.5, Formula Kai, the other Kick Sauber at the moment, going purple through the second sector, looks to lay down as the rear end kicks out. That guy Vince in the chat reckoning for GB68, hoping his teammate can get pole position for the Aston Martin Giro. Formula Kai goes quickest, 108.3 for himself. Lots of time still to come. Lots of potential for crashes still to come here, Tom. We've got 8 minutes and 27 seconds of pure carnage.
100%. And that is a very good banker lap from Formula Kai, who's looking incredibly rapid. It could be an all-Formula front row, potentially, if Karim and Kai end up finishing first and second in this qualifying session, and he said race. Are we going to see anyone in the 107s? It would be a stretch, but if somebody really manages to hook the lap up, get into a lovely rhythm, we could be seeing that high 1 minute 7. Scott Taylor, not particularly quick on this lap, that has to be said. I think there was a mistake somewhere in the middle sector, so over the line he goes. It's going to be a record-breaking 1 minute 12.2 for Scott as he goes again.
Not an ideal situation for Scott Taylor there. We'll be looking to improve, but of course, tyres are going to be the all-important factor here this afternoon. They don't want to burn up too many sets. The drivers that went out in Q1 could have an advantage come race day. They'll have an extra set of tyres. They won't have burnt as many up, making their way through qualifying session. We watched Formula Grim getting validated there as we headed through the pool section. Unfortunately for himself, GB makes his way through the tunnel in towards the no chicane for the first time, or at least the first timed lap on this Q3 session, getting the car thrown in, beautifully navigated for himself and keeping it nice and stable.
Big blunder that from Karim. He was purple in the first sector and I think purple in the middle sector as well, so making a mess of his first flying lap of the session, leaving himself with some work to do, a little bit unstable over the curve through the swimming pool section for the green machine of GB. Up towards Anthony Knows we go. Can he rotate the car nicely? A little bit wide of the apex or the wall on the inside, but pulling gears up to the line as he cuts the beam. Was it going to be? Is it provisional pole? Nearly half a second down.
Not a good start for GB. Still time to find, still tyres to use, of course. That could potentially be a scrub set for a few of our drivers. Formula Car could have gone out on a brand new set of rubber. Let's wait and see what happens over the rest of this Q3 session. Lots still to happen. Tim and Mardik making his way through the third sector, through the pool section that we have here in Monaco. He's leading the championship, but he hasn't finished on the podium since he won in the United States back in round number 1. The Italian job from the Austrian hills haven't treated the Australian very nicely. Will Monaco do him a favour? No, across the line. It's only going to be P2 at present.
Yeah, and he was leaking time pretty much everywhere to Formula Kai over the lap. Pretty much matched each other in Sector 1, but then 2 tenths down in Sector 2, 10.5 down in Sector 3. Formula Kai is looking like the dark horse of the session so far. Razin Chai up to the line. He's only in the high 1 minute 8s. Formula Kai has suddenly put himself as a potential favourite for pole position because Formula Cream is still yet to get a time on the board.
It's certainly out of nowhere. One driver that has gone rather under the radar in the opening rounds of this Grand Prix, does rather well in his own fruition, has done well in the last few rounds, just finding his feet in amongst the F1 Creator Series, and now, potentially, he feels Monaco is the place to strike. There's quite a few casinos in Monaco. Let's just say I think he's putting all on green for Team Kick Sauber.
He'll be praying that it comes up green as well and doesn't end up going red or black. Meraki coming through Portier. There's an interesting line on the exit there, moving over to the right-hand side of the circuit, then jinking back across. He's another driver that's gone under the radar, not just in this qualifying session, but in this season as well. We have to say, the Season 4 champion is third in the standings, only 6 points behind Team at Marduk.
Certainly is. I don't rule out Meraki in any way, shape or form. That's not what you want to see. Meraki could be a dark horse when it comes to qualifying. He's qualified on pole a number of times to his name. Won not only races, but seasons gone by as well. Once he finds his day, Meraki's probably one of the fastest racers that we have on this circuit up towards the line. 55 thousandths of a second difference between himself and Tiamat Marduk at present.
Yes, Formula Kai starting to think about it, I think. Starting to potentially think of what could be lying ahead of him. Starting on pole position automatically makes you the favourite for the race because you don't have to overtake everyone on the hardest track to overtake. Another decent first sector for Kai as well with an 18.1. Formula Cream, though, purple with an 18.0. That is the fastest time we've seen all session in the first sector. I think that Formula front row is starting to look even more likely now.
It could be a potential. They say quite often in racing, complacency will get you killed. Well, let's keep an eye on Formula Kai as we make our way through this session. Just over 4 minutes to go. Can the young man start from pole position? They say quite often the race on Sunday is decided on Saturday here in Monaco. Formula Kai looking to improve on his lap time. Are we going to see a 7? No, but we're going to see a quicker 108.211 for Formula Kai, stamping his ability up on the leaderboard. Oh. Formula Karim out of absolutely nowhere, 107.842. We've got Formula Karim, Formula Karai. It's a Formula front row here in Monaco.
Karim's in Monaco, everybody else is still racing in the south of France. This is absolutely ridiculous. 7.8, nearly 4 tenths clear of Kai, nearly a second clear of his main championship rivals. They've got quite a lot of work to do now because Formula Karim has thrown down the gauntlet and probably smashed over a few houses with how hard he's thrown it.
3 minutes, 180 seconds to go in this qualifying session. Formula Karim, nearly, as you said, a second clear of Tiamat Marduk, the only 2-time winner of the championship here this afternoon, as Formula Kai, my apologies, expresses, let's just say, some frustrations to his namesake that stands above him at the moment by about 4 tenths of a second. Karim, I think, has found an extra button on that steering wheel to make that McLaren go faster. His teammate, of course, will be looking and hoping that he has that button too, but will be starting considerably further back on the grid compared to himself.
Yeah, and I think people will be hoping that they've got an extra gear as well, being able to change up into 9th potentially, which is the overdrive setting. They've got a lot of work to do. Formula Cream, reigning F2 champion, of course, jumped into F1, showing his potential as F1 Alex has dropped it coming out of Casino Square. Is there anyone that's going to be held up? It's Scott Taylor on an outlap who doesn't clatter into the stationary Kick Sauber, but that is probably a session over. I think it's only 2 minutes left to go. Yes, it is 2.5 minutes left to go. Front wing scattered across the circuit. And that is F1 Alex starting at best position number 8.
Well, yeah, best number 8. Of course, don't forget Scott Taylor still has that 5-place grid penalty to be applied at the end of this session. Picked that up earlier with a collision with Formula Karim's teammate Nick Flies all the way back, if you can remember, over half an hour ago now. It feels like only a couple of minutes ago we were heading out for Q1. All our drivers getting prepped and ready. Razin Chai now on your screens, getting set or going through the works of a hot lap. Rear end kicking out of that Alpine, managing to hold it absolutely spectacularly, but that is what happens if you put the power down too quick and too fast on this circuit. The rear end kicks like a prancing horse.
Yeah, nobody really improving at the moment with the exception of Nogueira, who's got a pretty decent first sector to his name, 118.2, just a couple of tenths down on what Formula Kareem managed to do. The one remaining scarlet red Ferrari car. Will anybody roll the red carpet out for him to try and get further up the grid and potentially start inside the top 5? Pole sitter last time out in season number 7 when he was driving for the Silver Arrows of Mercedes. And the one remaining Silver Arrows in the Mercedes of Thierry McMahon, the reigning champion, still only third, just on an outlap at the moment. Formula Kareem's still in the pits, though. He's just come out, you can see through Sainte Devote.
Improving by just under a second is Nogueira. That's only good enough to bring him up to about 6th at the moment, bring him level with where Razin Chai stands on our boards at the moment. He needs a miracle out of the 3rd sector, and I wonder if Ferrari will provide. He'll run up towards the line. It's only going to be 1.1 seconds quicker for Nogueira, P5. Surely the best place that he will be starting now. GB coming through the sector. He's invalidated. Won't necessarily have time to pit again, but if he's got enough fuel and enough belief in that rubber, he has an opportunity to recharge and go again. Scott Taylor looking like a slow outlap once again for Team Haas coming through the pool section. Behind him looks like a rather advancing for Red Bull of Meraki, making sure he makes it to the line in time.
And Thierry McMahon invalidating as well. He's made a mistake somewhere around the lap. Razin Chai going again has matched Formula Kareem in the 1st sector.
Certainly has indeed. This is where it's going to get spicy, folks. 15 seconds until the checkered flag will begin to fly. Last minute predictions are allowed here in the F1 Creator Series. Get them in the live chat wherever you may be watching. Let's see who's going to take pole position at Monaco. Everybody out apart from Matati and F1 Alex, who finished up late. Let's see which way that dice is going to roll.
There's nothing between Kareem and Razin Chai through the first couple of sectors, about 0.03 of a second at the moment. Will it be McLaren or will the Alpine throw a buzzer beater right at the end? Can Razin Chai steal a march on Formula Kareem? Upset the Formula front row. No, he cannot. He's still over 0.2 of a second down. 108.1, but he has pushed Formula Car off the front row of the grid.
Nogueira in towards the pit lane. GB, the next to come up towards the line. 2.8 tenths improving as he heads through the pool section in towards Raskas. Locks up the wheels. Let's see what he can do as he comes through Anthony Knoll. DRS ring will open. The battery being depleted. GB will come up towards the timing beam. Goes only 4th fastest. 2 tenths improvement. Scott Taylor next across the line. 8 tenths improvement through the 2nd sector. Can Haas try and relive its day here in Monaco once again? Can he go quicker? He can. Steals P4 from GB. Next, Formula Kai looking to try and pip out his namesake. Can he do it as he comes up? Yes, he can. A 107.834. After Karim couldn't go faster, Kai shows him that you can. And that is going to be Formula Kai starting from pole position of the Monaco Grand Prix. And he has well and truly stamped his name into history here in the F1 Creator Series.
What a lap. We were questioning whether it would be Razin with the buzzer beater. Its Formula Kai was slower in the first and final sector than Kareem, but an incredible middle sector. He was nearly 3 tenths quicker than Kareem through the middle part of the lap. And that is an unbelievable, unprecedented pole position. It is the Formula front row lockout separated by 8 milliseconds. Razin Chai and Meraki 3rd and 4th. Scott Taylor qualifying 5th, but with that penalty will be bumped down. GB and Thierry McMahon will be a little bit disappointed in 6th and 7th. Nogueira, Matati, and then F1 Alex, who crashed late on in Q3, coming down through Casino Square. What a session!
What a session. What a qualifying. They always say Monaco delivers. Well, it well and truly has done here this afternoon. I think we're going to throw it over nice and quickly over to Clipbook Corner. He's been told we've got 3 clips for him. Let's see what he can say. And well, you saw very quickly there, just before we switched, it's very rainy. But Alex, what have you got for us?
Well, I've got 3 very quick clips to go through if I can get my words out. First one is, of course, F1 Alex, who did drop it in this last part of the qualifying session, as you saw, just losing the rear end there and just going straight into the wall. And he knew at that point that his qualifying session was over. Luckily, he didn't hit another car as GB just sails past. An interesting view here from Mr. Scott Taylor, who, of course, has that 5-place grid penalty, not to forget, as he slowly goes past an accident there and just wonders, if I just avoided that. And I thought I'd give a lovely quick look at the reaction of our pole sitter, and you could see he was very excited, very happy to be on pole, and I think he just couldn't believe it, to be honest with you. But what a lap he did, and let's see if he can carry it on into the race.
What a lap indeed. What a run for Formula Kai to start from the front row of the grid. And I wonder if we've got time to go ahead and look at our starting grid here this afternoon. I don't know if we're able to swing it across over to that. Drivers are out on their formation lap. Tom, let's go through the starting grid here this afternoon.
Well, it's going to be a fun race, isn't it? And look at these two drivers on the back row. Would have been expecting to be in Q3. It's Alex Gillen with a quali bound from 20th and Lolin Ober making a mess of Q1. He's starting from 19th.
Next up on the grid, 17th and 18th, it's Hayden von der Gullis and Datko Vince after a poor exit out of Q3. Of course, getting caught up in that instant, he'll start alongside the man in the Williams that is known to be a menace.
Ricky 03, another driver that came a cropper in Q1, would have been expecting to be considerably higher in Safso. Managed to get out of the first qualifying session, but could only end up 15th.
14th and 13th go to Infratic and Mr. Dale himself. Of course, a return, a very rare occurrence that we're about to see. They'll start alongside each other, Red Bull and Ferrari. We've seen this one before.
100% we have. And then the two drivers that just missed out on the top 10, Tess Will in the second Mercedes and Nick Flies almost scraping in to make it two papaya cars inside the top 10.
Speaking of the top 10, let's go up and have a look. Scott Taylor, after the 5-place grid penalty becomes applied, starts from P10, P9, goes to F1 Alex.
First Q3 appearance, of course, for the Kicks Albon. Nogueira, former pole sitter, starting from 7th. Matati, very solid throughout his qualifying session as well. 2 Alpines in the top 10. He goes from 8th.
Certainly does indeed. P6 and P5 held by 2 infamous names here in the F1 Create Series. Timo Marduk and GB68. 2 times to win under his name. 1 this season, of course. Will he be looking to make it race win number 3?
2 former champions starting on row number 2. Razin Chai, season 5 champion, going from 3rd, has looked very, very quick. And Meraki, a little bit under the radar, potentially it's 4th for the season 4 champion.
And then on your front row this afternoon, it's the double Formula front row. Formula Karim and Formula Kai that starts on pole position for the first ever time here in the F1 Create Series. Drivers are just finishing up their formation lap. We're about to go racing in the beautiful country of Monaco. Let's switch over and have a quick look. Formula Karim, look at that, pointing immediately across to Formula Kai. It is absolutely torrential conditions that we're about to see. Who's going to have the brave on the brakes in towards Saint-Devote? Are they going to hope for any heroics from further back? That is all the questions that are being asked at the moment. So we've got 2 drivers going incredibly slowly towards the back of the grid, and by any shock it's, I believe, Hayden von der Gullis and Alex Gillen, of course, getting his first proper experience under the wet conditions here in Monaco. Let's get ready to go racing. Which formula is going to come out on top? We've been told as well. Kai on intermediates, Formula Karim on full wet tyres. It's spread amongst the board between the 2 wet compounds available. Everyone with a little bit of hope in their favour that the soft compounds last as long as they possibly can. We wait now for Gillen and Gullis to line up on our grid, once above another, P20 and P18 respectively. It's going to be very damp in our cockpits. We are going to have lights lit above our heads. We got 2, we got 3, 4 and 5. And for Monaco, in season number 9, the lights go out and we go racing with Formula Karim and Kai pulling away, both equally into turn number 1. Who's going to be braver on the brakes? It's Karim round the outside, but there's contact with the wall. He's met his best friend, Barrier, and that's going to allow Formula Kai into the lead of the race. Razin Chai swooping up to P3 as well. Beautiful moves from himself. Nogueira making early moves from this race start, and it's going to be F1 Alex trying to make a very similar move on the Alpine that's looking rather stranded as we come to the top of the hill, through Casino, in towards Mirabeau, in towards the hairpin. This is where mistakes surely are going to be start to be made. Let's have a look, let's have a watch as Formula Kai leads our procession through.
Well, Karim will be disappointed. The only strategy that I can think of for starting on the wets was try and get track position straight away, get ahead of Formula Kai and then pull away right from the outset, as the wets for a few laps are quicker than the green striped intermediate tyres. We did have a yellow flag being thrown up, but nobody is facing the wrong way or indeed upside down, so we continue on Formula Karim, shadowing every move from Kai, but he's made a mess of it on lap 1. First ever pole position, but he logged the brakes into the Nouveau chicane, slammed that front wing into the barrier on the left hand side, and somebody already has come a cropper, and it's one of the form horses to try and pick up the win in 78 laps time.
Formula Kai won't be happy with that one at all. Timo Marduk will be hoping that he holds on to, Timo Marduk hoping that he holds on to the position that he's gained rather freely, and it's going to be a bit of an impromptu safety car for Formula Kai here this afternoon. He's trying to hold on to the race situation that he finds himself in, but at the moment can't quite seem to find himself in any good luck or favour.
Big gaggle of cars caught up by that as well behind the ailing Kick Sauber of Formula Kai jumping into the pits. This is now what Formula Cream wanted to happen. Didn't quite happen in the way that he was expecting. Razin Chai slow coming out of Saint-Devote. He's tapped the barrier. You can see he's got half a front wing on the right, or the left-hand side, sorry. Through goes Meraki, through goes GB, and that's the second mistake from one of the front runners we've seen. Razin struggling on the intermediates, drops a couple of places and some points of downforce for good measure.
Not what he wants to see. Razin Chai, of course, coming a cropper with front wing damages. I believe not only this time out, but when we went to Portugal as well with the cockpit camera, he won that race from pole position, looking to try and bump himself up. That guy Vince up to P8, of course, coming through from that Q3 exit. Let's talk about Alex Gillen as well. Started from the back of the grid, finds himself alongside his teammate Safso up in P12 after the opening hijinks that this race has created for us. But Formula Karim, an almighty gap that he has, only on lap 2 of 78, but I smell a safety car in the offing at some point over our endeavours.
Oh, 100%. That's Tim at MONACO up the inside of Razin into the Nouvelle Chicane, trying to get past the slightly wounded Alpine of Razin, making a bit of a mess of it. I think they're going to continue on with Tim at MONACO taking the place, but both of them, you would imagine, running off the circuit. I feel like we've understated this start from Vince, though. He made up 9 places. Struggled to get the words out. Started from 17th at MONACO, and he's up in 8th at the end of lap number 2.
Absolutely fantastic from that guy Vince at the moment. He's driving like that car absolutely is on rails, but he's got damage. Look at that front left end plate missing on the Aston Martin car. So albeit he's made up those positions, he has got damage. Might need front wing replacement if it becomes dry at any point in this session. His teammate GB68 up to P3 from that initial race start, dropping Tim at MONACO by 1.8 seconds, who's having a good old battle with Razin Chai further back. F1 Alex dispatching Guerra for P6, and the Kick Sauber, at least one of them, having a good race so far.
Oh, Scott Taylor hanging the back of that Haas out, coming through Massenet Corner and into Casino Square. We go all over the back of Matati. At the moment, the wet tyre is still comfortably the best compound of the two that the drivers are on at the moment. Drivers on the Inters really struggling. We've seen the mistakes made as well. That guy Vince relegating the Guerra down a further place. I believe that is into the Lowe's hairpin. Exceptional move from the driver that started 17th and started lap number 3 is up into 7th position. Formula Karim is nearly 10 seconds clear of the rest of the pack, and we're halfway around lap 3.
Certainly is indeed. He is driving off in towards the distance without a care in his mind. His only hope at the moment is that he doesn't catch up with the back markers as quick as he probably is doing at the moment. Baraki now over 9 seconds back, and look at this. It's a move down the inside by Scott Taylor and Alex Gillen. He thought about one in towards the Nouvelle Chicane. That's not a place that you want to go 2 by 2. Scott Taylor disregarded that thought, sent one anyway, and thankfully both of them come out without any damage on their cars.
Gillen's done a decent job, though, making it up into P11. Just saw Nick Flies in the background, drifting, coming through the swimming pool section. Drivers living on the edge, I think the best way to put it. Playing with fire, you could say as well. That gap between Formula Karim and Meraki is now going to jump over 10 seconds. He is absolutely flying, and answers on a postcard for those drivers that started on the Inters were wondering what the best tyre compound would be. For the moment, it is the wets, and Karim has got a huge advantage in Fratic. Thinks about a move up the inside of Nick Flies into turn number 1, but thinks better of it.
Yeah, I think Meraki's got a choice here. Does he try and pursue the driver that is staring him down in the distance, or does he try and hold up GB, maybe work together and progress and advance the McLaren in front of them at that present moment? Because Karim has well and truly checked out of not only his hotel room, but this race as well, and he is on a march for the race win already. We're only 4 laps in to a 78-lap Grand Prix. No bets barred, no hold barred, of course, in this Grand Prix. There's still a lot of opportunities for things to go wrong, and if you believe the old saying, whatever can go wrong will go wrong, let's hope it's not the case for Formula Karim here this afternoon.
Yeah, so we're hoping he's got that 4-leaf clover firmly in his back pocket, hoping that none of the bad luck that continues to plague his season, despite picking up that win in Imola, continues to rear its ugly head once again. F1 Act with a very early corner cutting penalty. Razin shaking the rear of that Alpine car on the exit of the Nouvelle Chicane. This is very uncomfortable indeed for the drivers on the Inters. We have seen this before in the Creator Series. We have to say, we've seen that some drivers start on the wets, some drivers start on the Inters. I think this is the first time we've seen the wets have this significant an advantage over the intermediate drivers.
It's very rare that we see the full wets having this much of an advantage over the intermediates, but you can see it by how the drivers are racing. They're so close and compact to one another. That guy Vince is on absolute rails, 11 positions that he's gained in 5 laps. That's an average 2 point something every single lap, and that guy Vince looking to try and rejoin his teammate GB68 up towards the podium positions. His next target becomes Razin Chai, and you can see him right in front of him. He's a damaged car, but he's absolutely soaring.
Yeah, Razin a little bit of a cork in the bottle at the moment, struggling on those Inters and with the front wing damage that he picked up coming through coming through Saint-Devote going into lap number 2. That's also, of course, turn 1 at Spa-Francorchamps. Bit of a train forming, Matati joining the back of them as well. Something we have to note, though, the rain has started to subside a little bit. It's definitely lighter than it was at the start of the race, so potentially that advantage that Formula Karim and the other drivers on the wet compound tyres have held for the first 5 laps is going to start to diminish.
That he could do indeed. They'll have that transitional period where they're not necessarily on the best tyre as they make their way through. The transition period on towards the slick compounds could be the one that they have to try and beg for. Apparently Karim thinking about waiting for dry tyres, not even waiting for the intermediates to come into play. He's got the distance, he's got that advantage, and he's got the fastest lap for good measure as well. Karim holds quite literally all the cards here in Monaco.
He's played this absolutely perfectly. Sometimes his strategic decisions have been questioned in the Creator Series, it has to be said, but he's got this one bang on. Lovely little battle here as Loninoba on the Inters chasing in Fratic, who's on the wets. Potentially that tells you something about how the conditions are changing. F1 Alex is in the pits, though. I wonder if he picked up some damage dropping through the field. The first driver to make a regulation pit stop, the Kicks Albert, who was comfortably inside the top 10, of course.
Certainly was. No new front wing, though, for F1 Alex. He's just in towards the pit lane for some fresh tyres. Intermediates going on to the Kick Sauber once again, joining his teammate further down, but both of them have damage now. Front left end plate missing for F1 Alex. He'll rejoin down in P17 as he gets a 10-second penalty for cutting the pit exit there. That's going to be harsh, as he only had a wheel or two over the outside of it, but I think he will be in a bit of a worse off mind state. That top 10 looking rather out of reach at the moment.
And Fabio really starting to fade here as well. Loninoba is all over the back of the Ferrari and with a little bit of front wing damage to boot as well. So that Scarlet car is really struggling. His teammate Nogueira holding firm in 7th at the moment after making it into Q3 for the second time this season. But Fabio really struggling for grip, confidence and traction as well. Will Loninoba think about an audacious, I think that's the best word to use, move up into, or down, sorry, into the Nouvelle Chicane. In fact, it was a little bit wobbly in the braking zone as Datkovitz has finally got past Razin Chai in the battle for 5th and 6th. Razin really struggling with that front wing damage. Nogueira is going to be next on the hit list to try and relegate him further down, as that is a move behind the Matati, almost rolling out the red carpet for Alex Gillen coming up in towards the Rascasse.
Opened the door, invited in. Gillen said, no, thank you, I don't want a second invitation. Swiftly took the position. That's going to be P8 for Gillen after starting all the way down in P20. Let's not forget that. Vince, on the other hand, who started very much similarly down in P17 up to P5 after 12 positions gained. Both him and Gillen gaining the exact same amount, but Dakar Vince only a few positions off. Podium opportunities at the moment, and Vince is the highest scoring driver yet to score a race win here in the F1 Creator Series.
Oh, that was a lazy little lund up the inside into Mirabeau for Nogueira, desperate to try and get past the Alpine of Razin, who is continually struggling, continuing to leak time to everybody in front. Big gap has formed, obviously out in front, although Meraki has taken a second out of Karim on this lap alone. Was over 14 seconds, now comfortably under 14 seconds. Tim Marduk on the tail of GB as well, in a battle for 3rd and 4th. Alex Gillen, I think, is going to be joining this battle to try and get past Razin any time now.
Certainly is. I think all of our drivers just sitting and waiting, seeing what happens, especially with the weather aspect that seems to be rolling and racing. Formula Karim just collecting fastest laps by the looks of things. 1:22.8 now for McLaren that stands in P1. His teammate just further down, P12 for Nick Flies. There's still opportunity for everybody to come back into this race. All it takes is one safety car. Meraki now goes fastest on the intermediates as Nogueira gets past Razin Chai in towards Rascasse corner, penultimate final corner of this racetrack, and now Nogueira 6th, Razin Chai 7th. But who's this coming on the attack? It's Alex Gillen, who started from the back of the pack and will be looking for a little bit of vengeance after last week in Austria.
100%. Quietly made his way through, kept his nose clean, kept out of trouble, and is now in a very decent position, albeit that 9-second gap between Tim Marduk and Datkovitz that has formed. The only driver to finish in the top 5 of the championship and on the podium multiple times.
Wow.
In the top 5 of the championship. I don't know why I read that out like I've never read a book before.
Well, it's sometimes hard when you're trying to focus on multiple things. I'll allow the grammatical errors.
Thank you. Very kind.
One thing we are going to note here, though, as Meraki set the fastest lap, he's starting to gain on Formula Karim now, making inroads to that McLaren that stands in front of him. I think it's almost certainly an intermediate track. The rain's not stopped by any means. Let's just point that out there. But the intermediates are really starting to come to the Red Bull of Meraki. Fastest lap does go to Karim, but I'm almost certain it'll be shared back to Meraki in just a split second.
Keeps flip-flopping, doesn't it? We're seeing sections where Karim's still fast on the wet compound tyres, and then Meraki takes a chunk back. You can see he's comfortably faster on that visit, 21.5 compared to Karim in a 22 flat. GB has looked a little bit quicker as well over the Red Bull of Meraki in the past few laps. That gap back down towards 3 seconds had grown up to upwards of 4 seconds with Tim Marduk just dropping back a little bit from the Aston Martin as well.
There's lots going on all amongst this grid at the moment. There's many little battles going on that we're not necessarily keeping an eye on. Nogueira getting the best of Dakar Vince. They climb up towards the top of the hill. Nogueira swooping around the outside, right out of camera shot. Beautiful move for the Scarlet Ferrari. Yellow flags further back. Someone has gone off deep into Sandoval. Who's that going to be? Ricky 03 in the Williams. No damage though. Managing to keep it out of the wall. Thank goodness for Team Williams. But he will have to start once again from P19. As there is a battle still going on between Alex Gillen and Rasenchai. There into the wall at the casino hairpin. Gillen pushes him wide.
And that is not good news at all. Both of them tripping over each other. Look at this. Well, that is no front wing for Rasenchai. Going to launch it back up the inside of Gillen into Portier corner, but not going to be able to rotate that car. And once again, it's Alex Gillen and Rasenchai coming to blows as they did on the final lap at Monza. There were a few other drivers involved in that as well, it has to be said. Although, well, Alex Gillen taking the blame for that one eventually. And Rasen is going to have to make his way back into the pits now because he has got zero front wing on that Alpine car and is going to continue to drop places.
Yeah, he won't be happy with that, hoping that he could have lasted those tyres out at least until the end of the rain came. Will be begging for a safety car to come his way, the opportunity to change his tyres without too much deficit to his race situation. He keeps locking the tyres up as he heads in towards Las Rascas, and this is going to be a front wing change, surely, for Rasenchai. New tyres, please, as well. He'll be calling to his pit crew.
And this will be a bit of relief as well, because he's only had one lap so far at the Monaco Grand Prix that would have been a little bit enjoyable, and it was the very first lap of the race because he's been supporting that front wing damage ever since turn number 1 of lap number 2, putting on a brand new set of the intermediate tyres. Test Will with the fastest lap of the race, although he is down in 17th at the moment. F1 Alex with 13 seconds worth of penalties in front. Battle continuing to go on. Emphatic continuing to struggle on the wet compound tyres as the rain certainly is almost stopped. It is just spitting very, very slightly indeed.
Yeah, still raining, albeit starting to run out of ideas, shall we say, run out of resources. And the rain will, I think, be rather coming to an end in the next few moments of this Grand Prix. I think we're being told in the next 4 or 5 minutes of Rasenchai really having, well, let's just say, not the best luck when it comes to weather situations, changing conditions, having to go in this early, change a front wing. I think he could have risked a pair of slicks, but of course no full dry line on the circuit quite yet. So the last thing you want to do is try and, well, drift around some of the corners here in Monaco.
100%. So how's the lead battle starting to shape up? It is Tim McMarlick who now has the fastest lap of the race, just set there, 21.3. Kareem on the previous lap did a 22.2, Meraki 21.4, GB 21.3. So from second, third and fourth, they're very evenly matched. They are taking chunks of time out of the Papaya McLaren out in front, but Kareem doing a decent job at the moment to try and hold on. And as beautifully put in the chat, the question is, can he take those tyres all the way to the dry period? It's going to be an interesting question.
I think the changeover period for Formula Kareem is going to be absolutely critical. They'll start to burn up like he's taking them into a hot furnace, and he's got to try and hold on to as little or as much grip as that track is going to be giving him until he deems that track dry enough to get the slicks to be beneficial. But of course the question is, how many slicks has he got available to him when it comes to this sort of situation?
Yeah, very good point. Medium tyres, you would imagine, are going to be the ones that everybody uses when we jump off the wet/intermediate tyres. Of course, no hard compound tyres we can use, but they also don't technically have to use the soft tyres in this race either, because we have started in wet conditions.
Very true. No mandatory pit stop required, at least for our drivers. Of course, hard tyres still banned, so they won't be able to use them. Formula Kareem over the team radio. Front to 7, rears of 15. I'm assuming he's on about percentages.
I imagine those rears are going to start to climb up because he is going to be starting to grapple for grip as the conditions start to come away from him. Tim McMartin looks very quick at this stage, taking time out of GB, closing that gap back towards the lower reaches, just above 1 second. The gap out in front still over 11.5. We've got a bit of a train forward behind Dakar Vince, who is also on the wet compound tyres. Matati Safso, Alex Gillen lining up a move potentially on that second green machine. We've got a yellow flag. Somebody is off at turn number 1. That is Nogueira in the scarlet for red Ferrari car. Is anybody going to clatter into the back of him? Drivers having to go offline. Matati almost running into the rear of Nogueira there. Two drivers are going to file past Nogueira. He's got some significant damage from that as well.
Certainly has done indeed. Brakes late as he headed into Sandoval. No heroics, of course, involved in this situation, but he will be slightly lacking in the downforce department. Complete damage on the front left of that Ferrari. Safso thinks about a move down the inside. Gillen shortly will think about one very soon after as we head in towards the hairpin. Gillen being held up by the prancing horse in front of him.
And he will not be happy about that one job because he's going to lose that time to the tree in front. Alex Gillen chasing after the Scarlet Ferrari of Nogueira. Will he go for a move down into the Noval chicane? We saw he already went for a move into the Lowe's hairpin, which didn't work out brilliantly, it has to be said, because he was ahead of Safso before he made that move on Rasenchai that forced the Alpine into the pits, lunging it up the inside, can't quite force his way far enough alongside. Into the pits go Mr. Dale, and F1 likes to put on the medium tyres. That probably tells us we're getting very, very close to changing over to the slick compound tyres.
Certainly will be indeed. Let's see what everybody decides to bolt on. I think, as you said, drivers in towards the pit lane, hopefully in the next few minutes. Let's see where they're going to go. Rain has well and truly stopped. The dry line will start to form, and yes, everybody coming in towards the pit lane now. Fresh tyres for a lot of our cohort here.
Well, DRS hasn't actually been enabled yet. Well, there we go, as they cross the line perfectly with Alex Gillen there. So that does tell us it is time to jump into the pits. Alex Gillen being hung out to dry, courtesy of Safso, his teammate in front jumping into the pits. And you can see in the bottom right of screen, all the drivers making their way down pit road. Formula Kai staying out, I believe, in the Kick Sauber car. The gap out in front, 10.3 seconds. Surely they're all going to be coming into the pits at the end of this lap.
Almost certainly everybody will pile in now that the slick runners have started to try and dive in and maintain that gap that they run. Who's the leading driver on the slick tyres? That's the question I think everyone will be asking over team radio at the moment, and it is going to be Safso. So we'll see if we can pull up both fees as Formula Karim in towards the pit lane. And where's everybody going to start to file out? And it's a front wing change for Karim as well.
Ooh, so where's he picked that up? Maybe that was where he lost about a second on sort of lap 5 or 6. The gap going from 14 down to 13 seconds between himself and Meraki GB Tim Ardakan Meraki, of course, filing into the pits. Ricky03 have just spotted it there. Has put the hard compound tyres on. That is equivalent of a drive-through penalty.
Certainly is indeed. He's got to try and switch off them as quick as he possibly can to avoid any potential penalty coming his way. Being told opening corner was where the damage occurred for Formula Krim, so taking the opportunity whilst he has the gap back to Meraki to try and get that front wing repaired, and now the opportunity for Krim to try and boogie away as he's over 5 seconds clear already from Meraki. Opportunity to electric boogaloo.
And Alex Gillen, always the maverick of the Creator Series, he is chucked on the soft compound tyre. So watch this space. Gillen is going to be very, very quick. Comes out in 7th position, so has actually gained a couple of places, courtesy of staying out one extra lap. Safso up into 5th, Batati 6th, Alex Gillen in 7th. Hasn't worked out for Datko Vince and Nogueira, who came in the lap before. They, I would imagine, probably changed their front wings in the stops as well. And it's also allowed Scott Taylor to sneak through. Also, Rasenchai with the fastest lap, but he is down in 16th, the Season 5 champ.
Certainly is indeed. Last time we had this wild card, the fastest lap was also settled down in P16. Datko Vince picking that one up around Portugal. F1 Alex now deciding to take it for a spin down in P19 on a set of the medium tyres. He'll be rather happy, proving to everybody else at the moment that he's the fastest on the set of tyres. One of the oldest runners at the moment, 2 lap olds on his medium tyres compared to 1 and 0 comparatively around the field. As our front 3 now are Formula Karim, Meraki and GB. Team and MONACO chasing down slightly further behind, and the gap all the way back to Safso at 18.6 seconds. The front quartet really starting to make a wiggle on.
Yeah, Gillen won't be liking that one bit either in 7th place. Obviously on those soft tyres, so he'll be hoping to get past Matati and Safso ASAP and then try and claw some time back to that leading quartet out in front. Very much 2 different groups that have formed. Formula Karim, Meraki, GB, Tim Roddick, and then everybody else behind.
Safso in the fastest lap, taken away rather swiftly by Datko Vince. He won't be too pleased about that one. And Vince down in P9 at the moment. Of course, fastest lap last time we had this wild card proves that he's a rather maestro when it comes to cockpit camera. Scott Taylor over the team radio, he's saying he just needs to start relaxing. I think that's what quite a few drivers could benefit from as we see ourselves in the stage of the race. 15 of 78 gone.
It's very difficult to relax around Monaco, isn't it? Especially when you've got somebody like Datko Vince behind who is A, very quick, and B, always willing to make an ambitious move up the inside of you into a heavy braking zone. So Scott's just got to be careful there, not do anything stupid. Formula Cream very quick out in front. He's taken a second out of Meraki since they came out of the pits. Obviously that front wing change costing him about 6 seconds. He was 11 seconds clear when they came down pit road, now 6.2, although it was 5 seconds when they came out of the pits. And GB has closed right up to the back of the Red Bull of Meraki, and suddenly the Season 4 champion is going to be looking behind him rather than in front.
Certainly will be indeed. Let's keep an eye how it's progressing. Karim's started to make an advantage up further ahead. Meraki, of course, as you said, season champion here before in the F1 Creator Series, trying to chase down the McLaren in front of them, but overtaking and catching so hard here at Monaco. Karim's, let's just say, put his right foot down. He's pressing rather loudly on his loud pedal, and he's moving up in the world. P1 is where he finds himself still consistently at the moment, and he is going to have traffic in front of him by the way of Riccio 3. I reckon in the next couple of laps, you can see him on the track map at the bottom right hand side of your screens, just making the way through the swimming pool section in towards the Rascast.
Jake is really struggling here. 4/10 of a second slower than Karim in sector 1. Another 4/10 of a second slower in sector number 2. So either Karim's absolutely flying once again. He's hooked up. Look at that gap. It's now 7.5 seconds. He's absolutely cruising out in front, taking chunks of time every single corner out of the trio behind. As I nearly swallowed my own tongue there. That would have been bad, wouldn't it, live on the Creator Series channel. Alex Gillen was thinking about a move down the inside into the Nouvelle Chicane on Mitati, but couldn't quite get far enough alongside. Wasn't quite brave enough in the braking zone. Not something you usually say about Alex Gillen, to be fair.
No, I think he's maybe taken on the advisement of the issues that he's had over the last couple of races. Of course, got that qualifying ban here in Monaco, and he did serve. That started from P20 if you're just tuning in. That's why Alex Gillen did not take part in any of the qualifying sessions this afternoon. So he's made his way up through the grid. 13 positions gained in all, account over 17 laps. It was much greater than that in the first couple of laps this Grand Prix. An absolutely incredible drive in the opening stint from Gillen. But of course, if he's got penalties for maybe repeated things, maybe the occasional dive bomb down the inside that hasn't quite worked out, maybe he's just being cautious. He's got a reserve in front of him this afternoon. Doesn't look like it's going to be going his way this afternoon.
100%, yeah, but he's still got a long way to go, of course. Only lap 17 of 78. 60 laps remaining of this Grand Prix, so plenty of time for some safety cars and plenty of time for Alex Gillen to launch up the inside into the Nouvelle Chicane. This time he's further alongside, but he's crashed. Alex Gillen getting it wrong, clipping the inside wall, and for the second time this season, Alex Gillen has retired.
Oh my goodness, I never thought I'd see that. That's a rare mistake from Alex Gillen. And that's his first ever DNF on the F1 Creator Series, because technically he was classified in Monza. Alex Gillen, at a rare moment of weakness, will not be classified here at Monaco this afternoon. Wow, I never thought I'd see a mistake like that from Alex Gillen.
Very unlike Alex Gillen. Usually, you know, we speak about how he can sometimes get involved in a few scrapes with other drivers, but Alex Gillen never spins and he never crashes on his own. That obviously shows you how much he was pushing out there, trying to get past the Alpine of Matati. Only a virtual safety car, very short virtual safety car as well, as we are back underway. And we're down to 19, and it's the Season 2 champion that is the first to fall.
I've seen red flags at that corner for a very similar incident back in Season 7. I appreciate red flags no longer a feature in the F1 Creator Series at the moment, but surely Bert Mylander fancied a little gander out. Maybe it's a little bit cold for him. It's night here in Monaco. Maybe didn't fancy the nighttime driving. More yellow flags. That's the Red Bull that's gone off in the first corner by the looks of things. I'm going to assume that's probably Mr. Dell. It is indeed a little bit of damage for himself. Front right end plate missing. And let's see if we've got anything over in the place that has a fireplace and I'm sure several books to look at. Mr. Alex Heron, what have you got for us?
Well, I've been collecting quite a few clips, but there's been quite a race going on, and this is the first clip we're going to go to, which is, of course, on lap 1, which is Formula Kai, who, as you can see, well, went from pole to last in a very short space of time, just lost the rear end there and just absolutely ruined his race already. And then this was what happened to Razin Shai. This is why he
sorry to cut you off, Alex. Hayden Gullis off into the wall in the third sector. Hayden Gullis out of this race here this afternoon, pushed wide by the Alpine of Razin Shai. Front wheel completely missing for him this afternoon. I'm so sorry to cut you off, but surely now Bert Mylander caught into action. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a safety car.
London buses waited ages to see somebody have a little bit of a whoopsie first retirement of the race. Now we've got multiple Formula Creams going off at the swimming pool chicane. I wonder if he overtook a couple. Oh, this is not ideal at all. Hayden Gullis has left the session. I can just see that in the Creative EC, everybody is undeafened at the same time as well. We're going to go back to Clipbook Corner.
I was not prepared for that. I was clipping at Hayden's crash. Well, we'll go back to what we were doing, which of course was Razin Shai, who actually, this is how he got his damage on the first lap, just absolutely slid into the first corner. But we'll go on to the one that's caused all of this chaos, if I can find it somewhere. It's in one of these clips. Is it that one? No, it's not that one. I have no idea where it's gone. But anyway, we'll carry on. This was a double overtake by the RBs here, as they both got past Mr. Scott Taylor. Safso on the outside, and then Mr. Alex Gillen goes all the way around the outside. Very nice overtake indeed from the RB driver. And then this was, I think you mentioned it, TK, on commentary. F1 Alex got a very unfair penalty. You can see that is not a 10-second penalty if I've ever seen one. Just one tyre over the side, and you can see by his face. I mean, that's a clippable face if I've ever seen one. He was not very happy about that. This was a lovely overtake by Vince. Probably the easiest one of his career. Just goes around the outside of Razin as he's gone a little bit deep there into the corner. This was what happened in the...
Yeah.
Yeah, go back to it. We'll see what's going on in the race.
We've had an interesting moment here, folks. Drivers aren't leaving the lobby. It's almost like we've had a red flag situation. The lobby's completely restarted. I think everyone is continuing to... Oh, no. I've just realised it's completely restarted from lap 1. Oh, I've never seen that one before.
We're back on lap number 1. Apparently that guy Vince is injured?
Yeah,
I'm reading.
So from what I've understood, his wheel just whacked him.
Oh dear.
The force feedback, I'm assuming, has kind of messed everybody about there. Someone go call Alex Gillen. By the sounds of it, he's back in the race at the moment.
Alex has got a second chance. Alex, go live again. You've got an opportunity to go again.
Being told, actually, a really bad injury for that guy Vince, which isn't too bad as Gillen crashes into the safety car that's parked, I'm assuming, at the top of Beau Rivage there. I'm trying to figure out exactly where...
Oh, God, ads, don't show me.
The Royal Navy that we have up on the screen at the moment. I apologise, folks, if you're just
I was trying to find that guy Vince.
It's the F1 Creator Series for the very first time this afternoon. I promise this isn't what it's usually like, but I hope you are prepared for maybe some carnage chaos. I'm sure there'll be a few bits of discussion about what's about to happen, because honestly, I have no idea.
And it's not like we've got 50% of the way through either. So do we do 50%? Do we do 100% again? I mean, could be the longest Creator Series race we've ever seen. Where were we? We were about lap 19 or 20, I think we were. So we've got 58 laps still to go, there or thereabouts. And this is another... It's freestyle again. This is another Creator Series first.
I have no words to describe what we've seen. We've seen red flags in Monaco before. That's something we're well versed in having. We're used to having a little bit of carnage and chaos when it comes to that sort of situation. But when it comes to everything else amongst those lines, I'm not really sure how we proceed from that, as my F1 game in the background has also frozen, so that's absolutely lovely.
Oh, everything's going really well.
Vince genuinely hurt his hand, by the way. It literally slapped him into the hand. I'm going to try to see if I can find a clip of it, what happened. But
don't show the clip if he's broken his hand.
Let's confirm he's okay first.
Well, he looks okay.
Well,
he just looks a bit sore.
He's dislocated his thumb, so let's wait on confirmation.
Let's wait on that. Yeah,
from that guy Vince first, just to make sure that he is a-okay before we go racing again. That's a really horrible injury to have, and something that we're not going to can happen with sim racing, especially with direct drive wheels and how much force they can put through them. But we're being told that it is going to be, I believe, a 50% race going forward for this situation. And of course, well, drivers missing out on a number of laps, but I think a few might be happy with that, considering how they've started this Grand Prix.
100%, yeah. Does Alex Gillen get back in? Is that something that we can confirm? We're not saying with Hayden Gullis, of course, who retired and caused the safety car that we saw. We're not 100% sure. That guy Vince's #1 fan has jumped in saying he's imagining that he's going to the hospital because of that. That's not good news at all.
Yeah,
he's just typed in the driver's chat, just dislocated my thumb. So I think we are going to see a forced retirement from that guy Vince.
And I've not found a clip anyway, and I wouldn't clip it anyway. I hope he's okay.
No, I think let's move past that situation.
Yes.
We're going to wait for a lobby to get set up and restarted. Let's get some clips up in the background.
I've got a few.
I've
got a few ready to go. Luckily, I had about 10 stored up before that safety car came out. So So this is what I was talking about with Mr. Gillen earlier on. So I don't know if you probably remember, he tried to get past Razid Shai. It was, as I've named the clip, a send of sorts. He's quite far back, and he decides to send it down the inside. And I think he thinks he's got the move done. And then, of course, it turns out he doesn't have the move done. He is full right. He is full left lock, but there's not really a lot he can do there. It's not really an overtaking spot. He's tried it. It's not gone fantastically well, but it didn't really end well for Alex anyway. But also, TK, you mentioned this crash here. Actually, another clip with Mr. That Guy Vince. It was Nogueira who had got past him going up up the casino towards casino, and it was a lovely move round the outside, and just not really much Dak needs to do about it. And Aguero, lovely move there indeed. And this was something that TK thought he'd never see in Creator Series, but he's seen it now, and it's Gillen here. He was getting a bit frustrated behind the Alpine, and he thought, I'm just going to have a go here. He sends it down the inside. He was never going to make that move. See that front left tyre just goes straight into the barrier. And our last clip we've got is the one that is caused this this carnage here. I've just been told by my producer to go full screen, so I'm going to do that. As you can see with Gullis here, goes through the chicane quite normally, and you can see rather than shine in the background, goes for a dive up the inside, doesn't get left room, and unfortunately there's a tyre in the wall, similar to Mr. Pastor Maldonado in 2013. But yeah, that caused all this carnage, and we're not sure what's going on right now.
Yeah, we hope Vince all the best, of course, and we hope, well, let's just hope he hasn't damaged his thumb too badly. From what we're understanding, though, folks, let's try and pass on as much knowledge as we do know. 50% race is what we're going to be doing, and potentially Alex Gillen has just been given a lifeline to not have his first DNF on record. We'll wait for confirmation of that, and we'll get you that as soon as we possibly can. Well, there is confirmation. Gullis and Gillen both will be racing. It is... Well, Creator Series by name, Creator Series by nature. Gillen and Gullis back in, so therefore I'm assuming the DNF will be wiped from the record.
Yeah, it's technically a red flag of sorts, but we're going to treat it as an extended red flag, like a 3-hour red flag. Remember Canada 2011 when we had like 2 hours of red flags? Just repairing that car and getting us going once again.
I personally say we treat this like Belgium 2021, where we had a few laps of racing, red flag, and we just end it all, do half points from this point onwards.
Should we just end it there?
Yeah.
17 laps of Creator Series. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll be back next week.
I've been told I've joined the wrong session, potentially. I'm in the session already. Ignore me. I am chatting absolute nonsense on the broadcast as per usual. We have a really weird downtime that we don't have on most of these broadcasts. So let's go through and let's see who's impressed us the most in the opening stage of that Grand Prix. I was going to say Gillen until he stacked it into a barrier.
It was the commentator's curse. I think Alex said it while we were watching Alex Gillen throw it into the barrier. He did very, very well. Did obviously get involved in that collision with Razin, which not the best overtake that I've ever seen in my life, it has to be said. Kareem's obviously up there. Managed to pull, I think it was 15 seconds at one point from everybody else. Shout out to Vince as well. I know that he's not going to be racing anymore, and he has almost had his hat or his thumb chopped off by his force feedback, but he drove a brilliant race. Obviously he was on the wet compound tyres, but in 3 laps around Monaco to go from 17th on the grid to 7th, that's probably the best first 3 laps I think anybody has ever had at Monaco.
I think certainly so. It was an incredible performance. I haven't seen one quite like that, especially in wet weather conditions. It's been one of those races where everything seemed to come up Vince until whatever we just saw, and of course the race restarted and everyone's kind of wheels went a little bit Scooby-Doo, but at least we can go racing once again. We wish all the best for Vince and hope that he has a speedy recovery. Unfortunately, benefit from the good old NHS.
Fingers crossed that that thumb can get sorted out and he'll be back at the soonest next week, of course.
Of course. Well, yeah, we head for another mystery Grand Prix. I don't know if we've got the calendar up and loaded. That's probably something we can talk about at this current moment in time. Sorry to put our producer on the spot there and see if we can throw it across to see what races are coming our way.
Fan vote, I believe, is next week, round number 5, to start us off. Further than that, I might be struggling a little bit.
Let's go and have a little look at the calendar. If not, I will talk you through it because our producer is really busy in the background. There we go. So we have the fan vote, as Tom said, just next week out. Then we have 2 rounds of Mystery Grand Prix before we head to the land. Oh, break week next week, we're also being told. So actually, we skip a week. So Dakar Vince has a week to get himself up and match fit before we head to the fan vote Grand Prix. Then 2 rounds of Mystery. And then we head to the land of Benjamin Daly. Australia is the next track that we know for certain, 15th of March, which is over a month away.
Obviously coinciding with the start of the real Formula 1 season in 2025 as well. That is why we've got that run following of China, Japan, Bahrain, Jeddah, and then finishing off with that mystery Grand Prix with a sprint race as well. Few different formats scattered around in there as well. Double header, fan vote in a couple of weeks' time. That's going to be very interesting. The one we saw with the Italian job, of course, a couple of weeks ago was very, very fun indeed. The next time that we'll see full qualifying like we have this week, or confirm that we'll see full qualifying, is Japan, round number 10 there.
Yeah, and of course, don't forget, we'll have our first sprint weekend all the way down in China, and the second one of that being the Mystery Grand Prix to round off the season, and F1 24 as well. And, well, that is our calendar for the season. I'm really looking forward to how this is going to pan out. Australia is going to be a great circuit, and this is how the driver standings looked at the end of last week's Grand Prix, I believe, with the pole position point potentially added in, but of course it went to Formula Kai, so it doesn't really make an impact, so he's not in the top 20.
Yeah, Formula Cream with that extra point for intermediate pole as well. Started on 59, now jumps to 60, level pegging with Meraki this season. 4 champion in 3rd. Anyone who's really out of position there that you can think of? Not necessarily. The battle in the midfield is very, very close indeed. Just 5 points separating Nogueira, Ricky and Safso. Ricky's not had a particularly good Monaco Grand Prix so far. Safso, I think, was inside the top 10. I think he was ahead of Alex Gillen when he made that mistake down to the Nouvelle Chicane. So I think Safso might be about P5 in this race, which would be a very, very good haul of points for the inaugural Creator Series champion, of course.
I think it's the battle for that mid-pack at the moment. Matati all the way down to even Fratic, Adam Sanderson, they're all separated by kind of 7 points, which is absolutely incredible amongst all of our drivers at the moment. None of them really know where they're going to end up. None of them really know how much time they're going to have on this leaderboard. And of course, one good result could really change the way that this ends up. So if I'm Matati or if I'm Nick Flyers looking at that sort of situation, I'm looking at a really positive spin, I think.
100%, yeah. There are a lot of drivers that could pick up a lot of points with the way that this Monaco Grand Prix has panned out. A lot of big names that have fallen by the wayside. Razin Chai getting called out on lap number 1. Alex Gillen obviously is getting a reprieve, but he will be from the back of the grid. Big opportunities, big opportunities. Obviously, the top 4 was quite familiar. Formula Cream, Meraki, GB and Tim Amada. But from there down, anybody's game.
Yep, certainly is indeed. And it's just unfortunate to see how this race is going to go. We're going to go from 78 laps down to 39, I believe, off of qualifying order, from what I understand. Obviously, as he said, Gillen giving that reprieve, as is Gullis getting ready to go again. And we do have a starting order, I believe. Let's get the starting grid up again.
Yeah, and this is going to be a surprise for all of us as we go through the starting grid, because I can't quite remember that far back. Obviously, Dak Govins no longer racing. We wish him well, and hopefully that fam can get sorted. Alex Gillen with the reprieve starting from 19th. And we're just hearing as well, Alex Gillen and potentially Hayden Gullis as well, although not Hayden Gullis definitely as well. They're both going to be starting on hards and pitting at the end of lap 1 to sort of mitigate the advantage they gain from jumping back here.
Fantastic stuff. Obviously, himself and Ricky O3 starting in 18th and 17th, respectively. Not a great start or restart here for the Williams boys.
Not at all. Ricky O3 has struggled a little bit. F1 Alex was inside the top 10, started from 9th. He's down in 15th after a few trials and tribulations. Mr. Dale continuing on in 16th as well.
In 13th and 14th in Fratic and Razin Chai. Once teammates now separated in Ferrari and Alpine, they'll look to go toe-to-toe in towards Saint Devant.
Razin desperate to recover from a few blunders, as will our pole sitter. Formula Kai managed to recover to 11th. He's got Tess Will to deal with, who has kept it clean so far, one of the few drivers to do so.
Certainly has indeed. Inside the top 10, Lolly Noba, who's still chasing down his first ever win in the F1 Creator Series this weekend, alongside Nogueira, another driver looking to chase down his first ever win in the F1 Creator Series.
2 drivers there that have been in the wars quite a bit, as of these 2, but they've managed to come through nicely. Nick Flies finding himself in 8th place after starting from 11th. Scott Taylor kept his nose clean as well, and is the lead Haas in 7th.
In 6th and 5th, Matati, the reservist, and Safso, who's looked rather strong over the race weekend. Of course, his teammate Alex Gillen starting from the back, looking to score the major haul of points for Team V-Carb here.
Safso, of course, coming through from 15th on the grid. 2 big guns on the second row. It is Tim Mardet from 4th. Has been quite quiet in this race so far. GB was very close to the back of Meraki before we had the little kerfuffle with the technical red flag that we've got.
And starting on the front row of the grid, Meraki and Formula Karim, who thought he was robbed at the end of qualifying, retakes what he thinks is rightfully his after a dominant display in the opening quarter of this race. He'll start from the front row of the grid here this afternoon, and I think it's going to be interesting. I think we will have a formation lap as usual before our drivers get ready to go. And of course, this was the question that I think he will be asking, certainly for Karim will be asking, does this count as a pole position? If this was Hayden Gullis, the answer would be almost certainly yes.
He'd be grabbing that with both hands if it was Hayden Gullis. I imagine it's not going to count as a pole position. It's technically a continuation of what we've seen so far. And of course, that big lead that he'd built up was wiped down to 6 seconds, or 5 seconds, I think it was, because he changed the front wing, got it back up to about 8 seconds, and now it is nil. He's going to have to do all that hard work again.
Well, it's going to be race start 2, electric boogaloo for all of our drivers here this afternoon. Crib looking to try and get a better pull away from the race start as well. Of course, he started from P2 last time around, couldn't quite make it into Saint Devot, and we are moments away from getting going. We'll look over the pit lane with all our names and our drivers getting ready, prepped with all the front wings just in case they may need them. And I think it's Monaco, I think, have a strong suspicion that front wings need to be in plentiful supply.
100%. And the fact that we've had this break, people would have just lost their rhythm slightly. They would have got into a nice groove, at least the ones that didn't crash just before the end of race number 1. So they've got to try and get back into the groove as quickly as possible, because if you make another mistake, then that'll be the second driver on the sidelines, which will not be what you want, especially if you're in a good position beforehand.
Exactly that. You know, sometimes we see talks about no heroic moves into Saint Devot. We talk about it. The joke that keeps coming up. We have got a formation lap on our screens here, ladies and gentlemen, so everyone will be able to go out and get underway once again. But the question now beckons, how long do they last out? Who's going to get knocked back to the grid nice and early? We know quite often that one pops up, and there we go. GB and Team at MONACO already returned to the grid. Gillen starts on hard tyres. Hayden starting on the medium, so I wonder if that's going to call into contention some harsh words between Gillen and Gullis. But for everybody else, it's pretty much softs to open up this race, apart from Testwell and both Williams that start on the yellow Wall Pirelli tyres.
Yeah, very, very interesting that everybody's gone for those softs. You would imagine, well, I'm going to retract that. I was going to say it would be a standard one-stop race. We are most likely going to see another safety car at some point in this 39-lap race that we've got remaining. So getting the soft tyres out of the way early, of course, you still can't use the hard compound tyres in this race. Testwell, one of the few starting on the mediums. Hayden Gullis should be starting on the hards along with Alex Guinness, so they can pit at the end of lap 1 and get rid of them. But he has elected to waste what is technically the best tyres.
Certainly does indeed. Hayden Gullis there, no helmet this time around. I think he was joking and talking about it as a potential for one going on. Formula Kai has left the session, unfortunately. Driver that is looking to start.
I think TK was actually you that's dropped out.
Ignore me. That's my internet that's gone down for once. Well, actually, for once, it happens quite frequently.
That's not ideal.
Maybe let's try and get back into the lobby whilst our drivers get themselves on towards the grid. I'll come join the session again.
Oh dear. It's been a comedy of errors the last 15 minutes, hasn't it, everybody? Hopefully you've enjoyed the carnage that we're seeing as everybody pulls up onto the grid. Formula Cream. Oh my goodness me, look at GB's starting position. If he doesn't get reset there, he's face first with the barriers.
That is not where you want to be for this race start. Hopefully someone is going to give him some relief. He's not even in his grid box there. How has he managed to reset back to that position? He's going to be absolutely fuming. His wheel surely is going to have to be turned all the way to his left-hand side, but we'll wait for the lights because they cannot be far away. GB, who's pointing in towards the wall. We've got lights above our heads, ladies and gentlemen. We've got lights all lit, 5 lights on, and the lights go out, and we go racing once again. GB with a good turnaround to get his car pointing in the correct direction. It's 2 by 2 by 2 in towards the first corner, though. Everybody snaking through. There's a Kick Sauber out and round further back. F1 Alex and Mr. Dale camming together, and that's going to be the Kick Sauber coming off worst. Formula Kai getting involved as well. No front wing for himself in Fratic, who really hasn't liked the situation this afternoon. 10 seconds for a severe collision with Testwell as well. The Ferrari having a day go to bad to worse. We've already got a virtual safety car.
It's like everybody's magnetically attracted to each other. They can't keep their hands off each other cutting up the hill. That was a little bit chaotic, wasn't it? Razinchai involved again. This time I think it wasn't any of his own fault. And he has got some front wing damage again. Cannot catch a break, the Season 5 champion. Razinchai will be, struggling once more. Only a virtual safety car, courtesy of nobody actually retiring from the race. The 2 Kick Saubers coming across, but almost a collision there further back between Nick Weiss and Nogueira. swapping places potentially under VSC down into the Nouvelle Chicane. Emphatic with that 10-second penalty as well. Another driver that has not had the rub of the green, let's say, so far this season. And we're going once again.
Light goes green on our drivers, and look at this. GB immediately under pressure from Team of MONACO. We've seen this story written before. More yellow flags further back as Gillen's into the wall. That's not going to be too happy for himself. You can see his car stranded all the way further back, just getting going again through the swimming pool section. The driver that started on the hard tyre now has front wing damage to boot as well. F1 Alex getting past Emphatic as he's in towards the pit lane, not only to serve a 10-second penalty, but also fresh tyres on. Ronald Williams into the pit lane as well. Riccio 3, to my assumption. There's a considerable number of cars in towards this pit lane. It's a busy time to be a pit mechanic here.
Back like we never left, everybody. We're going once again. Alex Gilly was already going into the pits. Might as well change his front wing for good measure as well. I think he was potentially trying to go around the outside of Hayden Gullis into back corner. That's not particularly advisable, it has to be said.
Certainly not at all. Karim still leads though. He's already got a 1.2 second advantage over Meraki from this race start. Karim looks absolutely unstoppable here at Monaco. Meraki will try and chase him down with the lack of DRS that is available, but through we go in towards the swimming pool section. You see it just on the right hand side there as we head through Monaco in the beautiful dark of night. The streetlights lighting up all of our race cars. They go flying past both Haas cars close together on circuit with Scott Taylor and Lonnie Novo not nose to tail at present, with Guerra just far enough in front, but everybody pretty much close together. No DRS available for GB as he was just over a second to Meraki, but everybody else benefits from having that rear wing open.
Maybe that's the problem. We're racing at night. People haven't switched the lights on properly, so nobody can see what we're doing. That's the only explanation I can give, at least. We could be about to see some Haas Civil War coming up the hill towards Massenet corner. Lewis Hamilton famously crashing in qualifying almost here in 2017. Massive brown pants moment for the six-time world champion. Is Lolo Noble going to think about a move down the inside into Mirabeau corner? No, he is not. Almost 2 seconds now out in front between Karim and Meraki, trying to stretch the pack, Formula Karim, like he did in the first stint. Remember, sometimes at Monaco, you want to see people trying to, keep the... I've completely lost my trace of thought. Trying to back the pack up, that's what I was trying to say, to make sure that nobody can throw an undercut or anything. I think I might have said 6-time world champion for Lewis Hamilton, but he's a 7-time world champion. Everything's going wrong.
Lots of drivers deciding to, well, not deciding to lock the rears in towards the Nouvelle Chicane, but unfortunately doing so as they try and slam on the brakes to avoid sending their very expensive race car into the back of someone else's very expensive race car. And speaking of the rear of very expensive race cars, Nogueira sticking his front wing into the rear of the gearbox and Nick flies as they make their way through the fourth lap out of 39 in towards the Santavon corner. Let's see if the Ferrari's going to go for a move. Surely not on this occasion, just too far back, even with the use of DRS. Slams on the brakes and beautifully gets the car rotated. Up the hill they go, through Beaurivage, through Massenet, and actually everybody standing on ceremony at present. Nobody's going for any audacious moves. Well, people are asking for summaries in chat. Shall we give them a summary of what's happened? Shall we go through, essentially, a quick race replay? Oh, as Nogueira almost loses the car.
Yeah, not particularly stable there. And now Nogueira's deep going into the Lowe's hairpin. Scott Taylor taking a nibble out of the rear of the Ferrari car. Couldn't quite get far enough alongside to get ahead of his Ferrari engine counterpart. And once again, is going to be under pressure from his teammate Lolo Noble, who loves a little bit of a dive bomb, I've seen. Monaco happened. That is the best explanation that somebody can give.
Yeah, I think that's all you need to know. What did Gillen and Hayden do? Well, here's your 10-second recap of what happened in the first stage of this Grand Prix. Everybody got underway nice and calmly. Rain was coming down. Gillen crashed. Gullis crashed. Lobby crashed. And then we restarted. Unfortunately, we lost one driver, almost gained another one, but here we are. We've got 19 drivers on the grid. Gillen started from the back on a hard tyre to offset the deficit that he started on, of course, DNFing slightly earlier on. Safso's managed to make a position up from Nick Flies, and Emphatic hasn't had the best race restart. He got a 10-second penalty, served the 10-second penalty, and is now going again.
Safso's in the pits, by the way, that second RB car. Not sure if there is a mistake somewhere around there for the Season 1 champion. Doesn't look like there was a front wing change either, so getting off those soft tyres very, very quickly, putting on the yellow stripe mediums, probably to go 2 stops to the end of the race. Hayden Gullis has got to be careful, almost slamming into and coming out of the pits. We saw that quite a few times going through qualifying in Hollywood. Hayden Gullis almost creating a blockbuster instant there going into turn number 1.
I think Hayden's racking up nicknames quicker than he's actually racking up race wins here in the F1 Credit Series. He's got Car Park, he's got Hollywood. Anyone else got a nickname for Hayden?
Hayden Van Gullis?
Yes, Hayden Vonda Gullis. There we go.
Sorry. Yes, he's, just take away the wins, racking up nicknames faster. He's racking up points at the moment.
It's certainly is. And now he's got Safso right on his tail. 5:39. They seem to be going a lot quicker here under dry running conditions. I say that Lolly Nova is out of the race. We've got a VSC again.
Well, the safety car's desperate not to come out. Where has he ended up there? I don't know how he's lost his wheel because he hasn't reached to back corner. So he's obviously come a cropper on the entry. That's a very strange place to crash. Maybe he was battling with his teammate Scott Taylor, potentially. Nick Flies has jumped into the pits along with Nagera. These guys are going to get rid of those soft compound tyres. Scott Taylor's in as well. Is Razin in the Alpine? No, Razin's staying out. He's going for the track position, not trying to fix his front wing. We're down to 18 drivers now, and Lolly Nova is the first to retire from race number 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Well, no safety car. DRS has been enabled. Race has been restarted. Everybody's diving into the pits further back. Bert Mylander has taken the lobby reset as a personal preference, and he's no longer coming out in this session as the order gets completely shuffled once again. And Fraskin getting up a free position after Lolly Nova's car finds itself in the wall before to back corner in a very unusual accident. As you said, I'm sure Alex Heron over in Clipboard Corner will give us a moment in just a few moments' time. Tesla still in the pit lane, getting a new set of wheels on his car. The Mercedes just coming out, avoiding the pit exit like we saw from F1 Alex earlier, unfortunately proceeding on his merry way.
Yes, that gap out in front, by the way, just under 4 seconds. So Formula Kareem is a class above at the moment. I said in qualifying he was racing in Monaco. Everybody else was still on the train in the south of France. That is continuing to be the case here. He's rapid in the wet, continues to be rapid in the dry as well. And Meraki has got a couple of drivers to think about behind him because GB looking very quick. Tim at Malik sniffing around there as well. He could be falling off the podium if he's not careful.
Certainly could do indeed. I think there's damage on a few of the cars dotted around. I can't remember if that's from this race or last race, to be completely honest with you viewers at home. So unfortunately, I won't be able to give you 100% accurate information on that one. We'll look as the cars come swooping past. Red Bull looks fine, Aston Martin looks fine, the Mercedes looks fine. So these front three, or at least 3 out of the front 4, looking very content at present. Meraki, their leader, with GB just in behind it. Tim and Malik playing second fiddle in this trio of orchestral music.
And I have to say, Razin Chine's 6th. I don't know how he's managed to get back into 6th place because I think he's been involved in about 6 or 7 collisions in this race so far. Some of them his own fault, like the collision on turn number 1 of lap number 2 of the very first race. We had Meraki a little bit late on the brakes down to the Nouveau chicane, jumping over the sausage curb, but I don't imagine that's going to be a warning. But yeah, Razin was involved in collisions with Alex Gillen, obviously the start of race number 2, Electric Boogaloo. Somehow finds himself in 6th place now.
Certainly does. He's managed to make up the positions rather handily and will be chasing down his teammate into P5. Deadcore coming in with a subscription over 7 months, and that's a fan shout out for that as well. Everybody starting to stand on ceremony and see what is going on. I wonder how long we are. Well, I'm sure it won't be long till we'll be able to see what happens to Lolly Nova over in Clipboard Corner from Mr. Alex Heron. But for the time being, Karim still leads. 5.3 seconds advantage up to Meraki. This is looking absolutely incredible.
100%, yeah. Should we? Well, you were talking about Alex. Let's do a quick Alex update. F1 Alex is in 11th. He's made some decent moves forward, and Alex Gillen's still down in last at the moment. We're going to now go over to Clipboard Corner.
Well, it's all good. I'm here. Right. I've never seen this before. He catches that curb on the right-hand side. You can just see it. It sticks out just there. I think it's blocked by Scott Taylor, but I have never seen a car crash in this spot before, and I think he was a bit surprised as well because you kind of expect Monaco to be in the exact same place as it was when you drove that lap a minute ago. I think Seda said something about the wall moving out on him, but that time I think Lolly Nova just misjudged that corner.
He wasn't even looking at the screen. Could you just see his eyes? He was just looking off into the distance at something else in his room. He's not even paying attention. Come on, Lolly.
He is looking over at chat right there, and I think that's what might have caught him out as he headed into the wall. But I tell you what, I've never seen Lolly Nova that calm after DNF before, so I think the reaction was probably yet to come for the Italian stallion, but everybody else progressing through. Alex Heron, as always, providing the insight that we need from behind the scenes.
No worries.
As 19 dwindle down by 1 to 18.
Yeah, he's going to be barking mad, if you know what I mean there. Watched last week. Oh, shut up. Continuing on, that battle out in front. Nearly 7 seconds between Karim and Meraki. 6.5 at the moment. Going to be 7 very, very shortly, you would imagine. On the previous lap, Formula Karim setting a 1:12.0. Meraki in second, a 12.9. He's nearly a second a lap faster at this stage.
He is. He's absolutely fine. Yellow flags further back as Dale might have got into the barrier. I'm not quite sure what's happened there. I think Dale almost certainly has losing positions. Yeah, he's ghosted Further back, VSC again. Bert Mylander once again refusing to come out of that pit lane. I think he hasn't brought his coat with him.
Oh, we got a safety car. You can see just on the track map that yellow dot there. We are going to be under safety car conditions. Formula Cream 4, I think the third time now, is going to have his lead wiped out. He has jumped into the pits, you would imagine, for the medium tyres, potentially to try to go to the end, although we're probably going to have another virtual or full course safety car between now and lap number 39 of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, it certainly is. Let's keep an eye as Karim will come out. Nick Fly is not farther behind, heading through the second sector. Oh, a little bit choppy there on the broadcast. Let's not do that anymore, ladies and gentlemen. Nick Fly's into the pit lane. His McLaren pit crew servicing not only his teammate, and now him as well. Lolly Noba leaves the session with his head held in shame. And that's a very quick approach after the safety car by Formula Karim, but fortunately managing to hold out nice and calmly to the back of this pack. Meraki was everyone, well, we'll start to catch up everybody, surely, onto the medium tyres. Apart from Nathan Gullis, who's gone softs.
Sorry, I've just seen something that's completely taken me out. It's caught me off guard there. TK, you'll know what it is, and Gareth will as well. But yeah, this is turning into an interesting one. This is where you need creative series behind the scenes to see what's going on. I was worried Lolinoba leaving the session would cause us to have the same issues that we had last time, although I think because Hayden Gullis is the host, it shouldn't have affected anything. And it did not give the likes of Hayden Gullis, Alex Gillen, Infratic and Dale the opportunity to catch up to the back of the pack as well. Hayden has put on the soft compound tyres. Drivers that stayed out, Safso, who pitted 5 laps before the safety car came out, and F1 Alex and Scott Taylor doing likewise.
Certainly will be indeed. We'll have a few laps until everybody catches up to the back of the pack. Of course, if you look down at Fratic and Mistel, they're just coming out of the pit lane. I think we'll have at least a couple of laps of action before they're into the pack.
Yes, and this is going to be difficult for Formula Cream, you would say. How many times can you, how can you keep your head up for so long when your lead continually gets wiped out by other people making mistakes, safety cars coming out, crashes caused by other people? It's going to be very, very difficult for him to manage that, you would imagine, when we get going once again. Meraki hasn't really shown any signs of being able to challenge Cream, though, down into turn number 1, and GB and Tim McMardock. Tim McMardock's been incredibly quiet in this race. Not often you say that about the reigning champion and only multiple world champion that he has got. I think we are going to head over to Clipbook Corner with Alex Heron, of course, to catch up on some of the kerfuffles. And I can see that beautiful picture on the screen now of GB having a chat with the barrier.
Well, this was the opening lap of the restart, and I don't know if you can see GB's face. He thinks he's going to get reset here to go back in a straight line, and then once the grid is reformed, you'll realise that that's not going to be happening. He's just chatting to his chat, and then it goes black screen. I think he's expecting to face the right direction, and then he's like, okay, hang on, I'm not facing the right direction. So he actually gets, to be fair to him, a decent getaway. They'll see the front two get away a lot quicker than he does, and he has a nice early battle here with Theo Marduk. But there's not really a lot he can do, because he's got about like half the length going into that first corner. But yeah, GB, that was interesting indeed. And this was the chaos at the start involving Formula Kai. It's gone from bad to worse from him at the start of today's race. Gets spun in the first corner, does a nice little 360, gets his rear tapped, gets his front tapped, and it just goes from bad to worse. It's just not very good for the Kick Sauber here this afternoon. And from the other side, the Kick Sauber, we can see it from his perspective. Both Kick Saubers got damage in that first corner. And this is what it looked like from the middle of the pack. Just taking it nice and slow, actually, was F1 Alex. And then it just all went wrong for him very quickly. Somehow he's only come away with yellow front wing damage, considering the tap he did on his teammate. But yeah, that was the carnage at the start. And we now, of course, have the safety car. Unfortunately, I can't get Dale's perspective. But yeah, I don't know exactly what happened to him. But it caused a safety car, whatever's happened.
It was quite a wall of cars, wasn't it? Yeah. I have to say as well about Formula Kai, I can never trust a driver that turns a steering wheel animation off in an F1 game. I've just got to put that out there.
See, I know a lot of drivers do it in other racing games, but I haven't seen many do it in F1. But hey, if it works, it works. You know, it's one of the many quirks that you see in the F1 24 game. Some drivers prefer it like that. Some even prefer, and it's going to make me shudder to say this, some prefer driving in cockpit camera.
T-cam all the way. T-cam all the way. Hey, we've just heard chase cam from Gareth Allen, our producer. Right, I'm going to point down the camera. Anybody that races in chase cam, get off the game. You're not welcome.
I personally prefer exclusively racing in the helicopter cam if I can.
Well, that's a fun one, isn't it? Remember back to, this is taking us back a long way, the playoffs. I can't remember which set of playoffs it was. I think it was the second playoffs that we did. And Hayden Gullis was actually racing in spectator cam. He had control over his car back on F1 23.
No,
but he was in the spectator cam. Oh, was it? That was a fun
because I
one
wasn't
as
there for
well.
the second one, but I was there for the first one. I remember having a good laugh and a giggle that Hayden Gullis was having to steer from spectator camera.
We've had some fun times, haven't we, everybody?
It's not a bug, it's a feature. That's what we all like to say. It's an unexpected feature of the
It's a
game.
cheat code put in
Exactly.
a combination and we get going. Safety car is in. And finally, we're going to get underway again. Hopefully, no crashes for about 5 or 6 laps. But we can't bet on anything. Scotty, the wonderful man that creates the Create Series mean review, saying that he races on the TV broadcast cam. That's slightly more acceptable than chase cam.
I respect it. That's what Hayden had to deal with in the playoffs. Speaking of what Hayden has to deal with, he's got 12 cars in front of him. The lights will now go green. Formula Karim can put his foot to the floor, and we will go racing on lap 13 of 39. 1/3 of the way through this new Grand Prix, and that is going to be Razin Chai. Sorry, Matati sending an audacious move down the inside of Saf. So Razin Chai will now try his luck, but he's not too far ahead. He thought about it for about half a second. Nick Fly's looking for a move on Noguera as well, but Razin Chai still on the back. Damage safety car. I was going to say safety car on the top, but that's not. That's me misreading there.
Has he got more damage, Razin? He definitely had that front left end plate missing. There's more contact further back, people slamming into each other. Tim McMardick trying to get past GB. This could be a crucial battle for the podium, and I think the reigning champion has got past GB. Yes, he has, confirming third position there. Razin certainly has more damage than he did before the safety car came out, so he's going to be even more wounded in the second half of the race. Formula Cream comfortable out in front, as is Meraki in second, and then Tim McMardick stealing a march on GB at the restart.
Yeah, it's a beautiful move in towards the hairpin. Swung it around the outside of that Aston Martin. The hand has managed to come out on top. Third place is where Tim McMardick stands at the moment. Meraki already over 2 seconds behind Formula Karim. What is that car on? I think someone needs to check it for some maybe illegal parts. That rear wing looking rather flexible here in Monaco at the moment, but everybody else progressing on through. Karim with the fastest lap, 1:10.1 for the medium tyre runner. Everybody else nice and close together. Noguera practically on the back of Scott Taylor further back. And this is incredibly close. You can see them just coming through further back in that camera. And they'll come up to the top of the hill, through Beau Rivage, through Massenet and Casino. And nice, calm and controlled.
I tell you the one driver that I'm going to have my eyes on, Alex Gillen, currently 16th place at the moment, all over the back of Ricciardo 3, down the inside, we're going to Mirabeau corner. Noguera can't quite get alongside the house of Scott Taylor, running into the curb on the inside, which bumped him over it a little bit. I think Ricky also went wide down into Mirabeau, losing out to Alex Gillen, dropping into 16th position, but that was almost an ambitious move pulled by the Ferrari. Noguera couldn't quite pull it off though.
No, that's the question he'll be asking. Could he have gone for it? Could he have committed to the move? You spoke a moment ago about watching with Alex Gillen. He's now battling Formula Kai Noguera down the inside of the Haas car. Scott Taylor having to do everything to try and avoid a collision. Now the Mercedes side by side. Tess Will thinking about an opportunity. Noguera had to go from attack to defence in about half a second. They're very fortunate to come out on top. Williams further back. That's Hayden Gullis going sideways with Formula Kai. I think both of them progressing on through. Infratic is out of the session.
No safety car though, and it looks like Infratic's car's still running, so he's retired on track. He's decided he's had enough of the second week running, and Fabio is the third driver that won't be seeing the checkered flag, and another score of nil points for the one-time podium finisher in that Scarlet Red Ferrari car. That was, well, Code Brown moment part 3, I think, this time for Hollywood. Hayden Gullis coming through the swimming pool section. Formula Kai trying to make up for the blunders in this race so far. The pole sitter barging his way out the inside of Massenet corner and does force his way past Hayden Gullis. Wasn't the cleanest move you're ever going to see in your life, but this is Monaco, of course.
Certainly is. You've got to make moves when they present themselves, not necessarily when they're the cleanest option to try and go for it. There's still moves in availability. Left, right and centre on this grid. Nick Fly is just on the rear of F1 Alex, who still has an opportunity to finish within the top 10 for the first time in his F1 career. Tim McMardick right on the rear of Meraki here as we progress through to back corner where we saw Lolly Noba have a swift exit slightly earlier on. Mercedes versus Red Bull. This is lining up like 2021.
Oh, Ben sliding his way coming out of the swimming pool chicane. He knows that Formula Cream is so much quicker than the guys that are around him. Nearly 5 seconds again he's built up in, what's that, 3 laps, 4.7 seconds as we cut the beam. Yellow flag is out once again. They're throwing them like they're going out of fashion at the moment. Who is it? I'm not sure who it is. I think it's a Haas. Scott Taylor has dropped it coming out of the swimming pool chicane, catching out Ricciardo 3 as well. We've got a virtual safety car, no front wing on the Haas. That is going to have to be returned to the pits. And Ricky has a 10-second penalty for a severe collision. Both of them with 10-second penalties. So they've obviously got a little bit too engaged with each other, minus their front wings, of course, and returning to pit road.
What I could see there almost looked like F1 Scott Taylor was actually facing the wrong way for a couple of moments. I'm not sure what 100% happened to the Haas car, but both of them will serve their 10-second penalties. Both of them will get a brand new front wing, and it looks like they're throwing VSCs like they're candy to a baby at the moment. Nobody wants to throw out a full course safety car, pull the pack back together, and that at the moment is the benefit of Formula Career. 4.8, nearly 5 seconds up the road from Meraki. Tim McMartick right on the rear of this Red Bull as everybody else progresses through. We're only on 17 races still in this Grand Prix. We're over halfway, we're almost approaching halfway of this Grand Prix, lap 19. I'm really hoping this doesn't last much longer.
Well, you say that, but Flower Patata, I hope that's how it's pronounced. 3 hour stream. Could be even longer than that, because remember, we've got the cool down and the interviews to go through as well. So hopefully everybody who is still here, thank you if you are still here, you're in for the long haul, and we're going to get eventually a winner of this Monaco Grand Prix. Probably the longest Creator Series race we've ever had, and this has got to be the longest VSC period that we've had so far. And Tim McMartick is itching to try and get past Meraki, but he's made a bit of a mess of it, went slightly too early, and that is his chance gone for the time being.
That he is. He wasn't as quick on the throttle as Meraki was in front of him. The gap, though, between Meraki and Formula Career decimated by about a second on that VSC restart. That's going to be to the favour of the Rebel, but he's got to be careful not to battle Tim McMartick too much in the latter stages of this middle stint. He has to try and work together with the Australian, with GB, who's now bringing himself in towards this fight. They can see the McLaren just ahead of them as they head through the tunnel section. They'll be able to see the Papaya Orange just evacuating themselves in towards the distance, and that is what they'll want to see. Have a target to chase. They're like a horse on a fox hunt. They'll have their rider. They're chasing down the fox in front of them. They know what their target is, and they're coming to get it.
Yeah, that'll be all the motivation somebody like Tim McMartick needs. That just the tiny flash of papaya as the Formula Cream disappears off into the distance. Tim McMartick, if he can get past Meraki, I think he's the only driver that will be able to hunt down Cream and potentially make a race for this, if, of course, we don't see any more safety cars. What happened to Lolinoba? He was looking at his chat and then clipped a very small piece of barrier that was just sticking out, and his wheels fell off. That's the best summary I can give.
That is a perfect summary of exactly what happened to the Haas car. Wheel on one moment, look to chat, wheel off the other moment, and unfortunately...
Like a magic trick.
It was like a magic trick. You look away for half a second, you blink and you miss it, quite literally.
Not ideal at all. Lolinoba, who's had some very decent pace this season, but it'll be a Monaco Grand Prix to forget. Knocked out in Q1 and never really managed to make up for that, just getting bogged down in the midfield. Safso is under pressure from Razin Chai, who still has quite a significant amount of front wing damage. They're doing a very decent job to keep that Alpine in a competitive position. I wonder if Safso's maybe got some damage as well, because his pace is certainly not what it was previously either.
Yeah, Razin Chai looking right on the rear of Safso. Of course, these two well known to each other. They've raced each other time and time again in the F1 Career Series. They know how each other run, and that's how they will battle. Razin Chai will give every opportunity to get past Safso cleanly, but if we've seen, let's say, examples from weeks gone by, maybe Razin Chai might try an opportunistic move with that wing damage that may be battering the Alpine at present. Just to answer a quick question in chat, Dorian, there's only 19 drivers on the grid. We did have 20 at the original race start. Unfortunately, we've had an injury to one of our drivers. We wish Vince all the best. 100%.
Wishing him well as he tries to get that thumb sorted. Horrible, horrible clip. But yeah, we did not wish on anybody. This battle is going to continue on, though. Big train forming behind Safso. Who's going to disembark first? Razin Chai hoping he can do so into the braking zone of Sandevot. But he's very, very close. Has a wobble over the curve for good measure as well, but can't make his way past. Formula Cream out in front. That gap continuing to grow. 6.3 seconds.
Continues to grow with every passing lap. Meraki and Tim McMartick and GP, the more they fight, the more they're missing out on potentially winning this race. I think in a situation like this, it's going to be more Karim making a mistake than this trio trying to chase him down. As you see Razin Chai just giving Safso a little love tap as we headed through the Grand Hotel Hairpin. Everybody else managing to process on through. F1 Alex in P8, Nick Flyers P9, Miguera P10. And then, of course, some other drivers just outside the top 10, points all the way down to P15, if I remember correctly. Yes. And then, yeah, everybody just standing in procession. At the moment, Mr. Dale, I believe, scores his first points in the F1 Creator Series.
Wow, what a moment that would be for Mr. Dale. Hopefully he can continue on and pick up that one solitary point, maybe a few more. Formula Kai actually managed to get past Alex Gillen at the start of this lap, so Gillen bumped down into 13th place in his quest for the championship that's not going particularly well at the moment, courtesy of the qualifying ban that saw him start from last, then the retirement in the race, crashing at the Nouveau Chicane got a second lifeline, but he is only in 30, bogged down in the midfield a little bit. Razin still all over the back of Sasso, shadowing every move pulled by the RB driver. Season 1 champion versus Season 5 champion. Razin almost chipping more of his front wing off by clattering the barrier coming through turn number 1. Formula Kai, the pole sitter, still on the move, getting past Test Will, trying to make up for lost time and salvage as many points as he can.
I just remembered, completely agree with me, Dale has scored points in the F1 Credit Series before. I'm thinking completely of another situation. Noguera and Nick Flies, the drivers that share the first letter of their name, going side by side through the hairpin. Before that, as they headed through Mirabeau, that was a very fortunate moment.
Razin's up the inside of Safso, sorry to jump in there, but into Portier, is this finally the opportunity that he can take with both hands? Safso's going to fight it going through the tunnel. They almost bang tyres going through the kink, and now down to the Nouvelle chicane. Safso's later on the brakes, locking the rears up. That is not very stable at all, sir, but he does manage to hold on.
Certainly does indeed for the time being. Safso managing to hold on to P6 at present. He's got no advance, no benefit from the drivers in front of Matati, all the way up, 7.5 seconds up to a disadvantage. The V-Cup looking rather stranded in the streets of Monaco. Look at that, there's a crash for the back. Noguera and Nick Flies coming together at Raskas, and both of them parking up at the corner.
Tripping over each other, not for the first time with this lap, and it is Noguera that comes off worse, dropping all the way down into 15th position. Nick Flies has almost managed to hold on to his place after that in position number 12, allowed Test Will, allowed Alex Gillen to file through as well. Gillen starting to make up more place, although he is not particularly close to the Mercedes of Test Will, sorry, as Formula Kai chases after his teammate Razinchai, round number 2, trying to go around the outside of Mirabeau corner, can't quite force his way through. Got to be careful of Alex, who's nipping at the heels of the Season 5 champion as well.
Certainly is. Razinchai, I think it's a case of if not when he's going to make that move. Sorry, when not if he's going to make that move down the inside, around the outside of Safso.
This is suddenly looking slightly worrying for F1 Alex, because he had a bit of a wobble coming out of Portier, and he's got his teammate and pole sister, of course, Formula Kai, all over the back of him. Alex Gillen finally gets past Test Will. Returning to the top 10 is Alex Gillen, the Season 2 champion.
Certainly is indeed. Keep an eye on Gillen as he'll try and progress through another wobble for F1 Alex TTV. He won't be on the best of conditions at the moment. I wonder how the tyres are starting to fare up. Are we going to see another pit stop for the drivers that pitted under that first safety, under the first VSC? And Safso is into the pit lane. As you previously said, V-Carb going in for a fresh set of tyres. 16 laps he's done, 15 for F1 Alex. Could explain why F1 Alex is struggling on these tyres.
100%. Didn't pit under the safety car, which is why he got some decent track position, but why he's just been overtaken with absolute ease around the outside of turn number 1 by his teammate. This is a good recovery job from Formula Car. He's been in the wars a number of times so far in this Monaco Grand Prix. Started from pole, of course, one of the all-time pole positions that we have seen in the Creator Series. At the moment, is still going to bag a decent haul of points, but we've still got 17 laps to go, and that is a lot in Monaco.
It certainly is. It's going to feel like an absolute lifetime for some of our drivers trying to progress through this Grand Prix. They feel like they've done almost an entire generation, a marathon sprint through the course of these streets. Of course, we had one race terminated by, let's just say, a premature red flag, and then they have got going again. 50% race, but only 2/3 of the way through this at the moment. I think we're not even there yet, on lap 26 or mark. 2/3 of the way through this Grand Prix. Karim is absolutely flying, as he has been not only through qualifying, but through the opening race and the opening stints of this race as well. Meraki, Team Monaco and GB continue to fight, not helping one another, but of course in streets where you can't tend each other 2-3 wide, that's where the disadvantage could be lying. Alex and Alex having a good battle further back. F1 Alex could have gone and lost out quite considerably as he drops down in towards the pit lane.
Yes, just something interesting to know about the quartet leading the way. They're all actually lapping pretty much the same on the previous lap. Kareem 12.2, 12.2, Meraki 12.3, Tim McMurdoch 12.1, GB. So as the tyres have started to wear, they're all at a similar pace. It's just Kareem on those brand new tyres at the start of a stint has got so much more grip and confidence than everybody else. That's probably something that everybody needs to try and learn, because he could become a runaway leader in this championship.
He certainly could do indeed. It's going to be incredible. Karim obviously won one of the races at the Italian job, shared the top step with GB amongst obviously GB winning Monza himself, winning Imola, and we'll be looking to try and take home some more victories over the course of this season. We'll be looking to try and potentially make a breakthrough in this championship. It's a driver that has gone rather under the radar in races gone past. Obviously did rather well in Formula 2, looking to make his mark on Formula 1 as well.
100%, and we're starting to see the field really spreading out now as well, considering we've had, maybe 10 laps since that safety car came, and obviously the gap out in front is still 8.5 seconds, but Matati nearly 11 seconds off the back of the dueling trio of Meraki, Tim, Monaco and GB. Razin with that front wing damage is doing very, very well, but he's got Formula Kai taking chunks of time out of him. Alex giving the further 3 seconds back, starting to struggle on what are probably some subpar soft tyres.
Yeah, we've got a Red Bull in towards the pit lane, fresh new front wing going on, I believe. That has to be Mr. Dale J. He potentially going for a faster lap. Soft tyres equipped and will be ready to go again. Meraki, of course, staying in second place, has managed to drop Tim and Monaco out of DRS, at least for the time being, as they make their way through the Novel chicane down towards the back corner where Lolly Nova, of course, took that early shower. Got to be careful that yellow line on pit exit. That's where F1 Alex fell foul to a 10-second penalty earlier on in this Grand Prix. Yeah,
it was very, very unlucky. It's not ideal at all if you just put 2 of your tyres over that line. I think you do get a slam dunk 10-second penalty in the game. Formula Kai has now closed up to the rear of the Alpine of Razin, is just smelling the gearbox of the Alpine in front, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets past very, very soon indeed, unless Razin, of course, peels off into the pits, which is also a possibility considering the age of those tyres and the front wing damage he has got, but he does stay out.
Certainly does. The question is, are they going to pit again? Are they going to take that risk of putting on a fresh set of tyres? Of course, a few drivers will go soft to try and run them until the end. There's still, of course, a chance for a late safety car. We've seen it not once, but probably twice or 3 times. Not only in this Monaco Grand Prix, but in Monaco Grand Prix gone past. Bert Mailander does love a late appearance here in the F1 Creator Series.
If this season is anything to go by, lap 33, somebody will throw it into the barriers and we will have that safety car. For the 4th time, Formula Kareem's enormous lead will be wiped out once again.
I think he'll be hoping and praying to the safety car gods that he doesn't get another safety car. That will be on a lot lower list of his priorities for this race. All he has to do now is try and progress his way through this Grand Prix. But imagine if Kareem makes a minor mistake, ends up in the barrier himself. That could be a bad way to end what has been, arguably, a dominant display in this Grand Prix this afternoon.
Well, probably one of the most dominant Creator Series displays that we have ever seen. I mean, there's a lot of races to go through, 9 seasons of the Creator Series, but he's been probably a second lap quicker than everybody else for the majority of this race, sometimes even more than that. Formula Kai very close to the back of Razin, almost pushing him through the penultimate corner of Las Casas and into Anthony Knows we go. Not quite close enough to try and use the DRS to his advantage. Very, very short pit straight, the longest DRS straight, the only DRS straight that we have got here, of course, at Monte Carlo, and unable to make any real impression. Tim Monaco's re-closed up to the back of Meraki. Will this be a nice little duel to take us towards the end of the race? We'll have to wait and see.
I think it certainly will be. We saw a fantastic battle last time out in Monaco, I believe, between GB, Tim Monaco and Alex Gillen, where they went 3 wide into Raskas to finish off the Grand Prix, and that hasn't necessarily gone the way of the drivers. Team of Monaco, I believe, ending up with a considerable amount of damage coming across the line, but alas, managing to make it across the line nonetheless. And now we're setting up for something very similar. The gap between Meraki and Formula Kareem surpasses the 10-second mark. I think Meraki well and truly out of any contention of winning this Grand Prix race. But Team of Monaco thinks about a move down the inside of Meraki, catches Meraki napping, and it's now the Australian who moves into P2. Meraki with a massive snap, goes sideways. GB with a little bit of contact, and Meraki dropping down another position, down to P4. He's got some work to cut out if he wants to try and catch up, and the look on his face says it all there.
Absolute disbelief, and if you're any good at lip reading there, you can probably work out that he wasn't particularly pleased with what he's just seen. I don't think he'll be particularly happy-eyed with the move Tim Monaco made into Raskas corner. There was a little bit of contact, Tim Monaco forcing his way through, but sometimes at Monaco, you just got to bite the bullet and send it up the inside, try and force your way past, and that is what happened, and then Meraki losing out to GB as well with that wobble, let's say, coming through Anthony Knows.
Yeah, apologies to anyone who can lip read at home for, let's just say, some fruity language. Coming on, we've got a yellow flag in the 3rd and final sector. Red Bull of Mr. Dale being all sorts of turned around, front wing completely missing. At least the end plates having come off. Nope, that is the complete front wing dissection of a Red Bull racing car in towards the pit lane. He will go along with Ricky 03. I won't be surprised if we see, I think Dale is trying to go to the end here, which I absolutely love and respect from the driver. They're just trying to see this race out. They might not have gotten their way, but I think he's starting to enjoy the racing again.
You can always respect someone that goes all the way to the flag, lights the flag, no matter what happens in the race. If they can make it all the way through, I have a lot of respect for people, especially when it's not going their way. The gap out in front, 11 seconds nearly. We'll now be able to see the true pace of Tim at Monaco, the fact that him and GB have finally disposed of Meraki, who is struggling, maybe picked up a bit of damage from that tap with the barrier because he's nearly 2 seconds off the back of the green machine at the moment.
Well, Tim and Monaco and GB have both got blue flags on a Williams. They swoop past, I believe, the car of Ricky 03, just getting past, and Meraki will try and follow in suit. Nice and calmly, the Williams moves out of the way. The Red Bull does slide on through. Tim and Monaco and GB, as you said, now released to try and chase down Formula Cream. They're slightly making inroads. Of course, the gap rather still considerable, over 11 laps of racing still to go once they cross the finish line next time around. Gillen into the pit lane, fresh set of medium tyres to see him out. He's got to be careful to avoid the dissection there that almost happened by Hayden Gullis.
100%. Gullis now sandwiched between two RB cars. Alex Skinner is going to be very quick for the remaining 12 laps of this race now. Let's see how many more places he can make up in his quest to try and, well, some damage limitation is the best way to sum this up for Alex Skinner in his quest for a second World Championship.
Yeah, of course, the DNF slightly earlier revoked and rescinded the opportunity to come race again. I think he'll be happy with just a finishing order this time around, removing that curse of the first ever retirement from a Creator Series race, still holding. In fact, I'm sure according to the standings at least, the driver that has never crashed out of an F1 Creator Series race. And even though he finishes in P14, he'll be happy just to be able to bring the car home to the team.
Although we will all know, everybody will remember, I was there when Alex Gillen did actually crash on his own and got that second lifeline.
We'll all get the date tattooed on us. Remember the date, folks, 8th of February 2025. Probably approximately 8 p.m. in the UK in the evening time. That's when Gillen made the crucial mistake.
It did happen, everybody. It did happen. It won't go down in the record books, but it did happen.
F1 Alex losing out to Safso as well further back. Team V car making up another position. Hayden Gullis, of course, still further back, off of the back of F1 Alex, who has a little bit of breathing room. His teammate, Formula Kai, up in P7, just losing out to Rajan Chai. Everybody starting to progress through this Grand Prix in a rather orderly fashion. Nobody wants to make a silly move down the inside that could risk a wheel. We've seen it very often in Grand Prix like this. We've got 10 laps of racing to go, but they just want to bring the car home at this point, score some points and move on to the next Grand Prix.
I'm surprised that Kai hasn't managed to get past Rasen. He's got a lot of front wing damage to the Alpine, and Formula Kai is very, very quick indeed. Obviously out-qualified Formula Cream, who has been a class above everybody else in this Monaco Grand Prix so far. So with the pace advantage that Kick Sauber should have, should be easy pickings, but Rasen obviously defending very, very nicely, putting that Alpine in all the right parts of the racetrack.
Certainly is indeed. I think tyres could start to be concerned. Formula Kai, yellow flag. Dale's out.
Gone.
As we headed through Casino. Is it going to be too late for a safety car? We've got a yellow flag other way. That's going to be Scott Taylor at a very similar position where we saw his teammate go out, and he's facing completely the wrong way. Watch out, ladies and gentlemen. Kareem narrowly avoiding a race-ending crash there with a Haas that was rather Austin-powered here in Monaco.
Well, I mean, he found the only gap between Scott and the Barris Formula Cream. Incredible reactions to try and avoid the Haas. And that was almost lightning striking again for the driver that is very quickly getting the name as the unluckiest driver to ever be in the Creator Series, batting away with Tom 97, of course, for that crown. Now Tim Mark and GB are going to get held up by the ailing Haas as Scott Taylor returns to the pits. Once again, Bert Meilander very reluctant to make an appearance. About a second has been taken out of Kareem's lead. Realistically, that's nothing with the pace he's got. I would not be surprised if that gap is back up towards 12 seconds in a few laps' time.
I would not be surprised either. He'll be able to recuperate that 11 seconds. Of course, lapped cars will become a concern for a few drivers. They'll try and hold it through, make sure that they can progress through this Grand Prix. Tim and Monaco and GB have dispatched Meraki 1.5 seconds back to the Red Bull. They're now working amongst themselves. Matati, I was about to say, is battling Meraki there. That could actually be the Williams of Hayden Gullis getting all in the way of Meraki further back.
Yeah, and this isn't particularly nice for Tim Barnick as well, because he did have a fairly comfortable margin over GB as Test Will in the other Mercedes jumped into pits. That is concentration, my word, from GB there. Trying all his might to get past Tim Barnick, reclaiming that second place that I think he held earlier on in the Grand Prix. But thus far, Tim Barnick staunchly defending it as they try their best to chase after Kareem and make this victory that the McLaren has got not quite as dominant as it has been.
I would say GB's sweating, but I'm not sure you're allowed to sweat with a new hair on the top of his head. So Tim Monaco has maybe a little bit of opportunity. GB only has to function at 80% here. He can't afford to get that hair wet.
Yeah, and you'd think that without the hair transplant, it maybe would have been a little bit lighter, so he might be a bit faster on the straights.
Yeah, but he's got extra downforce in the corners. That's maybe what he's going for. Is he lining up for a move? No heroics into Sandoval for GB this time around, listening to his doctor's advice.
He's really trying though here. He wants that second place. GB is a contender for the championship. Let's not forget that. The improvement of GB, especially on F1 24, has been unprecedented. He is now, arguably, with the exception of Formula Korean, the second fastest driver in the Korea series, although the likes of Tia Bardik, Razin Chai and Alex Given will probably have something to say about that.
Certainly will. He's looked very impressive over the course. I mean, since that Baku win, that confidence, and we've said that in broadcasts gone by, sometimes all it takes is you just to get that one win under your belt, the one kind of the first experience to happen, and then you go, you know what, let's go get the second. Second becomes a third, third becomes a fourth, and so on and so forth. And I think that's what's really happened to GB. We saw that in Monza, some fantastic racing. It was consistency at its key, and now he's going out and chasing wins like they're just candy from a candy shop. Yellow flag further back, Nogueira off and round. I think that's going to be the Scuderia Ferrari stuck in a wall as we headed up through Casino. We've seen, I think that was where Fratic binned it in qualifying last time out in Season 7. Narrowly avoiding him is Teswill coming swooping past. That Mercedes surely would have seen him at completely the last minute.
There was definitely a bit of contact though, and another kerfuffle going up the hill through Casino Square. Not good at all. Nogueira does retire. I think he slammed it into the wall going up towards Mirabeau. Still no safety car though.
But my lad is well and truly having a day off here this afternoon. He's sat having a nice cup of tea, I believe, so we'll not be seeing any more of him, which I think our drivers will be very thankful for, as Formula Korean extends his lead back over the 11-second mark. Whatever that man is driving, it is not a Formula 1 car.
No, it's those, were they called Formula X cars that I think Red Bull did a few years ago when it was just like this F1?
I was watching on boards with Formula Kai and Alex Gillen going side by side here. Was that? I think it was.
Nick Flies.
There was an Alpine and a Kick Sauber going. Yeah, Kai and Razin, I think.
Because
very close together.
Oh yeah, because Alex Gillen has just launched it up the inside of Nick Flies very successfully down into turn number 1. We've got another yellow flag. Somebody has come a cropper, and that is Formula Kai, just as you were mentioning it. Oh no, it's not. It's F1 Alex.
Yeah, it's F1 Alex losing, I think, a considerable amount. Yep, all of his front wing there. For F1 Alex, so that will be a pit lane visit for one Kick Sauber. Formula Kai very lucky not to end up in the back of Razin Chai a minute ago. Very fortunate. Well, and again, how close he was to the rear gearbox of that Alpine. I think drivers are starting to maybe take some risks now. 5 laps left in the Grand Prix. They'll know they'll probably be classified by the time they cross that line. Are they just going to go for some audacious moves here, Tom?
Well, potentially, because we've only got 15 left, so points are pretty much guaranteed for anybody, no matter what happens from now until the end of lap number 39. Formula Kai is going to be very familiar with the geometry of the rear end of that Alpine car. Been staring at it for the best part of 10 laps at this stage. Thinking about a move around the outside, can't quite do it. Scott Taylor on the soft compound tyres snatches the fastest lap away from Super Formula Korean.
This could be an interesting battle now. Are we going to see drivers start to go for the fastest lap? This is Formula Kai getting held up by Razin Chai, the driver that was on pole position all that time ago, if you can remember back to the race. Contact between the two, and that's the Kick Sauber into the rear of the Alpine. Kai is desperate to try and get past Chai, and I don't think this is going to end well if the Alpine isn't dispatched rather quickly by this Kick Sauber. We head in towards Portier, in towards the tunnel, and I think Razin Chai has got to watch his mirrors left and right as we head through this elongated right-hander.
I think they're also going to have a friend very, very quickly, because Alex Gillen is catching very, very quickly. Wow, that is not particularly nice there for GB. A lot of sweat coming down his face. That new hairline obviously not doing a very good job of capturing it.
It certainly isn't. It's not fully grown in yet, so we'll give him some acquaintance, or some points for that. It hasn't quite done its job. But generally, the eyebrows are there to try and catch sweat coming down your face. But nonetheless, it's more contact between Formula Kai and Razin Chai. Back up at the front of the grid, though. Team at MONACO trying to defend like a lion from GB, not allowing the living Welshman to try and get up to P2 on the grid.
And Maraki's got his focus back as well. Close back to within 1 second, half a second nearly behind GB as well. That could be a tasty little battle going to the end of the race. Oh, we're going to see a DRS overtake down to turn number 1. Safso, he was going to be made to go the long way around. Nick Flies has had a very, very good outing here in 9th place. It won't be one of his better finishes in the Create Series. Remember back to Portimao. Coincidentally, the last time we ran with the cockpit cam only view, he had a very, very decent race also.
Certainly did. He's done very well in cockpit cam situations, which is really interesting. Razin Chai, of course, did really well with the cockpit cam situation. Teswill and Hayden Gullis having a good battle here in towards the hairpin. This is going to be a great battle. A beautiful move from the Mercedes getting past Hayden Gullis. Hayden with that wing damage, of course, and maybe looking a little bit vulnerable in the Williams. But Teswill swooping around the outside, looking well and truly like a seasoned pro there.
And Alex Gillen took 3 seconds out of Razin Chai in Formula Car in the previous lap. And by the time we get to lap number 37, that is going to be a 3-car scrap for 6th position. Trying to go around the outside of Razin, having to deal with the back marker of Scott Taylor. You could see the flash of the deep blue of Alex Gillen in the background. Nearly 2 seconds off the back of the Formula Car. He's going to have to get a move on, get his skates on, because Alex Gillen, the Season 2 champion, is gaining time hand over fist. And that is going to be quite something to deal with.
But don't forget, the laps are rapidly decreasing as well. It's so close to the end of this Grand Prix. I think we just got 4 to go here this afternoon. Karim, I'm sure, unless he makes a mistake himself, will win this Grand Prix. Razin Chai acting like an ultimate defence mechanism. We watch Karim now as he comes around the final corner to start lap 37 and 39, 3 to go. And I think Karim will certainly get a good win, some good points on the board for the Papaya McLarens.
Don't giggle there. He made a bit of a mistake through turn number 1. Got to be careful. Not won the race just yet, Kareem. You should know that with some of the luck that you've had in recent weeks. Alex Gillen has joined the battle for 6th and 7th. That's going to be very, very interesting indeed. Kareem, I mean, I guess you don't want to take yourself out of the rhythm, but you can just sort of cruise to the end now. He's got a 12.5-second buffer.
Well, you can afford to lose 4 seconds a lap on Timo Mark. That's incredible to say out loud. But that's how slow he can go, should he so want to.
How dominant he's been and how fast he's been for the first. I don't know how many laps we've done, actually. My maths is failing me. Is it about 55 laps of the 78 that we have done so far? I'm not 100% sure on that one.
I believe so. Oh, going back to the contact between Kai and Chai at turn number 1. Apologies for cutting you off there. Kai just caught out. Chai tried to defend to the inside line of turn number 1, swooped back to the outside line, and actually didn't realise that the kick-saber had its nose in there. Chai loses out. Gillen swooped past both of them, and it's 2 free positions for Alex Gillen, who started P20 on both races that have gone through this Grand Prix.
I wouldn't discount him from potentially catching Matati in front. He's about 3 seconds a lap faster than the Alpine. So 5th position, if he can force his way through, still very much on the cards, which would be an incredibly commendable recovery job from Alex Gillen, who's been in the wars this entire race, had a qualifying ban, crashed in the first race, got that lifeline. If he recovers to P5, I think that's a good statement to everybody else, saying, just tapping the likes of Kareem, Tim and Mark on the shoulder, saying, hey, I'm not going away that easily.
Certainly isn't. He wants to try and remain in this championship fight. He's kind of turning around to them as going, look, you can give me whatever you want to give me. I am not out of this fight. Meraki into the pit lane then. Soft tyres going for surely the fastest lap here on the final lap of the race. We're on the penultimate lap, 38 to 39. Karim still leads, nearly 13 seconds to the advantage of Timo Mark. He's got to be careful that Meraki doesn't fall into the lap range of Formula Karim.
If you're GB now, you can kind of go for it because there's zero pressure from behind now. He's had Meraki behind him for this entire stint so far. So he could maybe just try and have a go. He has lost a bit of time, maybe caught out behind the back marker of one of the Williams cars. I'm not sure who it is. I think it might be Ricky O3. He's actually letting him go back through. That's because he's on the soft tyres.
It's interesting strategy play here from a number of our drivers. Meraki heading through towards the Nova chicane here. So he's got free air. If you look on the track map, at the bottom right-hand side of your screens, at least he'll have a majority free air as Scott Taylor allows our race leader, Formula Karim, through there. Karim now will basically have a procession lap on the streets of Monaco to come home to an adoring crowd after what has been only describable as a dominant performance here this afternoon. He had an excruciating lead in race 1. We then had that restart. We had a race complete go from this start again. Karim then pulled the gap again. Safety car after VSC after safety car again. He's come back from the drama and the developments and once again pulled a 12.5 second gap to Tia McMardick in front of him. Even has enough time to slow down and allow Scott Taylor through, which is a great blend of sportsmanship to allow Taylor to try and push on potentially for another fastest lap attempt for the Haas car. He'll come through the swimming pool section. Fantastic win. What this will be for Formula Karim after what has been only described as the worst bad luck that a driver can have in the opening race of the season. I think he's had too many contacts to mention. He will come round the final corner through Anthony Knowles. The wheel starts to shake, the celebrations will rise, and Formula Karim will win the Monegasque Grand Prix in Season 9. A beautiful accomplishment after dedicated drives. The man who will stand atop everybody else with Tia Mark and GB to share the podium with.
And Alex Gillen has forced his way past Matati in the battle for 5th and 6th place. So what a recovery from Alex Gillen. Will Meraki steal the fastest lap right at the death? I will be surprised if he doesn't. One of the fastest drivers on the fastest set of tyres. He is going to take 4th place, just missing out on the podium. It is the fastest lap by quite a distance for the Season 4 champion. Matati will come home in 5th place behind. A very, very well done Alex Gillen. Recovered brilliantly to come home in 5th place and take a very decent chunk of points to add to his tally. But it's Formula Kareem in Dreamland once again. Super Kareem taking his 2nd Creator Series victory.
Beautiful stuff from Karim. He'll be happy with that. And now the Karim train has started. Where will it stop? Nobody knows. Lots of races, lots of opportunities for him to score points and score wins, score podiums. In fact, as we progress through this season, we're only on round 14 of, round 4 of 13 as Hayden Gullis gets disqualified right at the end there. But it's all going the way of Formula Karim in this Grand Prix at the moment.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant drive. Head and shoulders above everybody else by quite a distance in this Monaco Grand Prix race. Alex Gillen gets driver of the day. It's a debatable one. If he didn't crash in the first race, I would probably be giving it to him. But yeah, we'll have a discussion about that in a few moments' time. But it is the flash of papaya on the top step of the podium once again. It used to be Tim McMarley that was winning races for the Woking outfit. Now it is Formula Kareem picking up the mantle from the reigning champion. And he's putting himself in prime position to become the first F1 and F2 Creator Series champion.
Certainly is. It'd be a heck of an accomplishment for Formula Karim to try and replicate. This is going to be incredible to see what happens over the course of this session. We'll run through your complete and finishing order and see how it goes off for everybody. Let's see how it all breaks up. Karim, of course, will get your race win this afternoon. Team MONACO will join him alongside GB on the podium. Aston Martin scoring some good points amongst only one driver on the grid. Meraki gets the fastest lap at the end of the Grand Prix, with Gillen finishing in P5 after starting in P20, crashing out, getting a second lifeline and coming back to score some fantastic points. Matati, Formula Korai, who started on pole position in race 1, finishes in P7. Safso, Razin Chai and Nick Fly is your top 10, with Testwill, Ricky 03, F1 Alex and Scott Taylor your classified drivers. Noguera, Mr. Dale, Infratic Lolinova and Hayden Gullis counting as your did not finishes.
What a race. Probably the longest in the Creator Series history. Have to shout at everybody that has stuck with us through the last, what is probably nearly 3 hours of Creator Series action. If you are still here, we have got some interviews coming. But first of all, we'll be heading over to Clipbook Corner because there's quite a lot to go through, isn't there, Alex?
Yes, there certainly is. Yeah, there's a lot of clips to go through. Obviously, we had a very long stretch of that race. We didn't have any safety cars, so I'm going to go through them. And we actually have a clip from lap 1 of that restart. Well, Mr. Gillen may have got driver of the day, but it could have gone a different way because on the restart, he actually was in the wall and damaged his front wing and had a collision with Gullis on the opening lap. So again, could have gone a very different way for him this afternoon. That is not a clip. And this is where Razin got some damage here on this first lap. He actually dealt with damage since lap 13, hit the back of Safso and was basically struggling from there on. Did a very good job to recover though. And we see a lovely move here by Tim McMurdoch on GB, which basically secured him second place in the end. Forces his way all the way around the outside of the Aston Martin car. GB tries to run him out of road, but unfortunately Ben was already there. Great move from the Mercedes driver. And then, of course, we go to Hollywood Hayden, as he's been dubbed by one of the Toms. And this was actually very close to him going straight into the back of one of the, of Mr. Dale, Safso, coming out the pit lane. Decides, I'm going to get a little bit of slipstream, but almost calls it too late. But he gets there in the end. This was another Hayden Gullis clip who somehow held it through the swimming pool chicane. You can see he's completely sideways through there and somehow gets away with it in the end. But he had to do a lot of holding. And this is probably my favourite clip of all. As you can see, Scott Taylor going through the middle sector here, and he has a little bit of a spin. And this is where it gets interesting. So he crashes. Gillen misses him, so does Kai, so does Gullis, so does Dale, and Ricky, unfortunately, does not miss him in the end, and he hits him directly, and Scott can all but laugh at that clip, unfortunately. Then we've got a lovely battle between Safso and Razin that was going through the middle sector. Razin just fighting his way through on the RB. They went side by side through the tunnel section here, and it got very nip and tuck. There is not enough room for one car, let alone two, but somehow they make it work. And Safsto does just hold on to that by deciding to slide through the chicane. This was the move that, unfortunately, obviously, as you pointed out, kind of relegated Meraki off the podium. And this was the move that, if you have lip readers, I do apologise once again. But he's going through the final sector, and Ben goes down his inside. I don't think Meraki expects it, and he was a bit surprised, as you can see by his face there, and then loses the rear end, goes towards the wall, and GB just sort of closes the door on him, and as you can see by Jake's face, he is a bit surprised by the whole situation. And again, you talk about bad luck for the man who won this race. It could have been game over. As you can see, look how close he was to crashing into Scott Taylor there as Scott spun around. It was almost game, set and match for Formula Karim. And this was actually the crash that almost caused that incident. Scott, similar place to where he did in qualifying, just loses the rear end and somehow crashes around once again. His tyres were on 50% on the rears. And our last clip to show you here this afternoon is with Razin and Formula Kai, who do come to blows in the first corner. I don't think Razin expected around the outside. They both crash out, and Gillen says, "Thank you very much," drives his way through. And Kai not very happy about that. But that is it for Clipbook Corner, and I'll send it back to you guys.
Amazing stuff. What a race we've just seen. There's been chaotic moments from start to finish in that Grand Prix. But it's that time of the evening where we get some people in for a bit of a chat. And I'll give you a question. Do we want to start with our race winner, Formula Karim?
I'm going to say no. There's somebody in the interview waiting room that I am absolutely very much looking forward to speaking to over everybody else.
Well, is that a certain Alex Gillen by Twitter?
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Let's get him in and have a quick chat and
He
see.
got disqualified technically. Hello.
How this race went. Alex, first of all, welcome in. I think that's a story of redemption for you this afternoon. Not only coming back from a qualifying ban, but coming back from a race-ending crash. That must have been a tale of two halves, shall we say?
Yeah, honestly, I could do with a quiet race at some point soon. Today was not that, but I guess it's Monaco. That was to be expected. Definitely lucky today, yeah. So, real bad incident on Razin. I went for out the inside of the hairpin, and we just got caught on each other. And I apologise to him. That was a real bad move from me. So I compromised this race. So apologies again for him for that. And then after that, I was just desperate to avoid more drama, more collisions. So went for a move up the inside in the chicane, and then just went a bit too far left. Took off my wheel. And that was it. DNF. I literally ended stream. I was like, GG, see you later. Then I was like, wait, hold on. Wait, the lobby's crashing. Wait, I'm allowed back in? What's going on? So then I obviously was lucky to get back in. Lucky as well today. I opted to compromise myself at least though. So I started hards and then boxed that one. That was the plan as a way to kind of appease people that are obviously going to be naturally unhappy that I was able to get back in despite DNFing of my own accord. So that definitely compromised me. I was in last place up to probably about that 5 or so. And then from there, honestly, it was a clean race from there. It was a really good race. I enjoyed it a lot. Very lucky again. There was about 2 or 3 further incidents that I avoided by the skin of my teeth, squeezing through gaps where there was where people have incidents, and I find a car's whip somewhere. And definitely a lucky day today. But I'll take P5. And in the end, it was a fun race. The first race, less so.
Yeah, can imagine. How did the pace feel? Obviously, you were battling your way back through, so you didn't have a lot of time in clear air, but when you did have a bit of space, how did it feel?
Yeah, not bad. I don't think I could have done anything about Karim today. Karim just seemed to be on another level. I obviously wasn't able to directly compare myself, but he was just on another level today. So I don't think I could have done anything. And then beyond that, I don't know what was going on for P2. I suspect I would have been in there somewhere if I was able to qualify. The pace seemed all right. I did go for a fast lap at one point. I missed it by a 10th. But I also had fresher mediums, so honestly, the fact I wasn't getting a fast lap at that point showed the pace wasn't blistering today. But yeah, it was enough just to see me through the pack, thankfully.
Yeah, it certainly looked like a good opportunity of source. Some good points coming your way after what could have been a bit of a disaster heading into the championship. Are you still hoping for a championship win? Obviously, we're only about a third of the way through the season, so still a long way to go. Yeah,
it's a long old season. We'll see what happens regarding the fact that I was able to get back in. I hear in voice chat there was a few people not very happy that I was able to rejoin after the DNF, even though Hayden did the same, but, is what it is. So I might be removed from the results. Who knows? We'll see what conversations I had. As I said, okay, that's good to hear. I obviously did compromise myself, but I'm sure there'll be a bit of moaning. But anyway, if I hold on to that, I'm there or thereabouts. Lost a bit of ground in the championship today. we'll see. Honestly, it's turned into a real messy season, so I'll just keep plugging away. Honestly, after race 1, I've just been trying to enjoy it. I've just been trying to just been trying to be more positive and just enjoy it for what it is. And I did that today, so that's the main aim, really, to be honest.
Amazing stuff. Well, best of luck with it, and we look forward to seeing how the rest of the season goes. Congratulations for today.
Cheers, guys. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you so much,
Alex.
Well, I think his expression and his candor kind of gives away all the secrets that he has about that race here this afternoon. It wasn't necessarily the best way he could have gone, but at the end of the day, points are points. He is still on a championship march. Next driver that we're going to get in for a chat, the man who had his hopes set higher than his hairline. GB, let's get him in for a chat. GB, fantastic race out for you today. It was a tale of two halves in many respects. Obviously, the carnage chaos in the first, maybe a more settled down race in the second. How do you feel it went for yourself?
I think settled down is probably a good way to put it. There was a lot of emotions in that race. Obviously unfortunate what happened in the first part, and I don't know what word people know, but Vince, I think, has either dislocated or broken his thumb. He had a physical injury from what happened on the first when we had to restart. So obviously, feeling pretty bad for my teammate, firstly. And then I don't know, really. I guess on the restart, my head was gone a little bit, so I was just like, right, focus up, just drive, just keep it out of the barriers. And then I don't think there's much to talk about really from that second restart, other than obviously what happened between Ben and Jake. I know you guys have reviewed that already on stream, so I obviously benefited from that with Jake losing 2 positions. I think before that happened, I was thinking of boxing to go for fastest lap as well. So, Monaco is intense. GG's as well to create a series for the wildcard today, because cockpit cam was really fun. It was a challenge, especially in the wet, and hopefully it was good to watch.
Can we a little bit of comic relief? Maybe not for you at the time, but the second restart, starting when you were facing the barriers. How was that?
Yeah, I think had that not happened with Vince before, I would. I mean, I was just dumbfounded when it happened. I was like, we obviously had that bug before on the post leaving, and then when that happened, I was just like, I don't even know. I was really expecting to lose a position to Ben, and credit to Ben for not squeezing me too hard turn 1, because he could have easily got me a warning there. And yeah, I was surprised I held on to third, but yeah, I will review that one back. That was quite funny. I mean, what did you guys see of it? Was everyone just lying normally? I'm just sticking in the wall, basically.
Yeah, I mean, we just cut back to you facing the barrier and thinking, surely he's going to get reset at some point, and then he didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, that didn't happen.
It was a fantastic race. More points as well for Aston Martin. You'd have been hoping to do it, obviously, along with your teammate. We wish Vince all the best for whatever injury he may have sustained. But looking forward to the championship and the constructors. Hope still on for Aston Martin to go back to back.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know it's you guys. I feel like you guys ask for this every time we're in the interview room, so I know it's a boring answer. But I know Ben's done this in the past, so don't blame me. But it is true. It's a long season. We've got loads of races. How many races we got left? 10 or something. There's loads ahead of us. So, for me personally, and for Vince, we are both historically terrible at attending races. So if we could just turn up to the races, do what we've been doing, because Vince has been driving brilliantly as well. He could have got a great result today. Then we should be good. So fingers crossed. We must have lost first place in the constructors today, I'm guessing. Okay. Okay, that was in my ears, but it's one point. So second place, I guess. So yeah, not too bad. I guess all things considered, with Vince's retirement, then not too bad.
Amazing stuff. Well, best of luck for the rest of the season. Obviously, a couple of mysteries, a fan vote coming your way as well. I wish you the best of luck, and hopefully we get a speedy recovery from your teammate as well.
Yeah, cheers, guys. See you next week.
See you next week.
Oh, I don't think we will see him next week, because we've got the break week, of course.
Week, yeah, we've made that mistake a couple of times this evening.
Oh, dear.
Next up, let's get the man from down under, Tim Mulligan, finished P2 at least, on a podium. Let's see how he feels about his race this afternoon. Ben, welcome in.
Oi.
Good race from yourself. P2, of course, on the podium finish. Not necessarily the easiest race you've ever had, though.
No, it was tough. I had to fight my way through from P7 on the grid. It wasn't an ideal quali. The muscle memory got completely thrown out the window with the cockpit cam, so thank you for that. But yeah, we made some overtakes. Quite proud of my one on GB. I went around the outside of the hairpin, which gave me a shot at having a go at Jake. And yeah, Jake's obviously not happy about the move, but I had a look at it in the replay cameras, and I think it was fair. I think it was a racing incident, but we'll talk about that until we're blue, I guess.
How have you been feeling in general on the new equipment? Because there's a second race to come into it. Monaco's quite the throw yourself in at the deep end. Acclimatizing okay?
Yeah, just biggest problem for me right now is button mapping. Like I changed wheel last week, obviously, but then I changed wheel rim again for this week. I switched to an F1 style wheel, and I actually feel really good in the raw driving of it this week. But then the button mappings were a bit off, so I couldn't do things like, I don't know, asking Jeff for like updates on my teammate and stuff like that. And I just felt like a little bit like claustrophobic. I don't know, for lack of a better word. I couldn't feel like I could like fully like do everything I wanted to, but the raw driving was like near enough there. I feel like I'm like 90%, 95% like there in terms of like raw pace and consistency. But you know, it's week 2 and I'm already like this stable with it, so I'm quite happy with the progress. We'll just keep going, and I think we'll dial in even more the more time we spend with it.
Yeah, of course, practice makes perfect, as the old saying goes. Break week next week, and we head into a fan vote the week after that. Quite infamously, one that you seem to do rather well at the last minute announcements. How are your hopes faring for the rest of the season and potentially the next few races?
Pretty good. As long as I can contain Karim, I guess. He was absolutely rapid. GG's to him, by the way. No question, driver of the day and deserved the win and everything like that. No one could touch him. But if he keeps that form up for the rest of the season, then it's going to be pretty tough to win this one. But I'll try and be consistent as ever, and we'll see where we're at.
Amazing stuff. Well, congratulations, Ben. P2 again on your race this afternoon. Best of luck with the rest of the races, and I'm sure we'll speak to you another time out.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.
Thank you, Ben.
Cheers, Ben. Another driver that thinks that we're going to be back here next week. Obviously haven't paid any attention.
No one's really looked to the old calendar, made sure the date. They just look at the calendar and go, oh yeah, that's next week, and don't look at the actual dates on the calendar. But hey, they're F1 drivers. They're not here for their reading skills, shan't we say that? Let's go to our race winner for this afternoon's endeavours, the king of Monaco himself, Mr. Formula Karim. Let's drag him across and have a little bit of a chat. Karim, welcome in. I was going to say fantastic race, but even that feels like it's not doing your drive today justice. Absolutely unstoppable and a well-deserved win.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, to be honest, I knew every race, I know I'm going to be in the top 5 somewhere, but to have that pace over some of the quality drivers in here, I honestly didn't expect it, I'm quite well known for, starting my stream late and hopping on the game late. And that wasn't different today. I hopped out the shower, did one lap in cockpit cam, and then I joined the lobby, and the rest was history.
You've gained a bit of a reputation for being the unluckiest in Creative Series. I've got to ask you about coming out of the Nouvelle Chicane and seeing Scott Taylor planted in the middle of the track. Were there a few flashbacks potentially? Definitely.
Especially when I saw him, he came back over to the left after he came back to the right after he was on the left. I definitely, some memories were coming back to me. My whole race flashed before my eyes. Luckily, I got through with no damage. I think I had to stop to about 50 kph. It was super close. I just watched it in the replay. I think you guys saw it as well. But yeah, that 9 laps from the end, that's not what you want to see. But at least it didn't go wrong this time. We got a bit of luck. As long as I have luck every now and then, I think I'll be all right.
Yeah, one thing I was going to talk to you about, of course, was there a moment during qualifying you and Kai were both battling it out for pole position? Obviously, he had that really, let's say, unfortunate instant into the Nouvelle Chicane on lap 1, and from there it was pretty much all yourself going through. Was there a moment that you thought if that hadn't have happened, there might have been a really close fight between yourself and him? You were so closely matched on pace in qualifying.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of funny seeing the way he crashed into the wall. Obviously, I'm sorry his race went bad, but yeah, I really didn't expect it. Obviously, he's on the Inters, and at the time they had less grip. But yeah, I mean, I was lucky that he bounced off the wall onto the runoff. But yeah, as for qualifying, 8 thousandths, of course, I'm going to say I could have gotten pole. On my final lap, I think I was 2/10 down after sector 1. Really bad turn 1, but I think the Nouvelle chicane, I could have gained a lot, which is why I sent it. And yeah, it didn't pay off. I went flying into the wall, just like he did it on lap 1. And yeah, I think I was lucky to keep P2 there. But yeah, also lucky to have him bounce off the wall. I think we would have had a close fight. It was a mistake from my side starting on wets. Not that it was a bad decision, but I forgot because, someone readied up quickly. I didn't have enough time. So it would have been interesting to see the strategies, especially if the race continued without a restart. So yeah, I kind of wish we had a battle, but I'm also glad to finally win again on track.
Yeah, it must be good to get one under your belt. And of course, looking forward to seeing how the championship standing look after today's endeavours. Obviously, break week next week will remind you of that, as I think every other driver seems to have forgotten. Then we head to a fan vote. How are you feeling about that? And of course, the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be good to get a week off, just to recharge a bit, maybe do a bit of different content on the Saturday potentially. But yeah, as for the fan vote, I'm actually excited for it. Not that the tracks on the calendar are bad, but I think the potential tracks that it could be are quite interesting. And I'm interested to see what ones will be on the vote, but I'm hoping we get Silverstone. I don't think we've had it yet in Creator Series on this game. And personally, I think even with the bumps, it's better than F1 23. So fingers crossed Silverstone's on the vote and people vote for it. But yeah, I hope there'll be some exciting tracks on it.
Amazing stuff. Tom, unless you got anything else for Formula Career?
I mean, just one last thing. I think you had your lead of 10 seconds plus wiped out 2 or 3 times. How easy or difficult is it to go again when you know you've got that pace, but it keeps getting taken away?
It's tricky because usually it's a very, very bad thing. But in Monaco, less so because, it's hard to pass. Unless someone gets a really good restart on you, it's not likely they'll pass you. And, I had Meraki behind me, so not that he's the most passive driver, but out of, GB, Ben, some of the others, he's less aggressive. So I knew maybe he would stay put. I ended up getting a really good restart, timed it perfectly. But yeah, I was fortunate that it was more virtual safety cars than safety cars, because there's a lot more pressure with a full safety car, and then, it gives people the chance to box. So even though it made it a bit more boring, I was glad to see virtual safety cars and, just keeping it safe on the Delta each time. You keep the gap with the virtual safety car. So to only have, I think, one or 2 safety cars was, yeah, it wasn't so bad in the end.
Amazing stuff. Well, congratulations, Karim. Looking forward to seeing how you do in the kind of the middle half or middle third of the season after some fantastic performances. We wish you the best of luck.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate the interview and have a good evening.
You too, buddy. You too.
Cheers, Karim.
Well, that's all the interviews. That's all the racing, albeit cut short to about, 2/3 of the Grand Prix at the end there. I have got one important question before I let our lovely viewers at home, go enjoy what is left of their evening. 4 little letters, DOTD, driver of the day. Tom first.
Normally, my motto is don't give it to the driver that wins, because that's a bit of a cop-out. But when you're on average about a second a lap quicker than everybody else around one of the hardest circuits, I can't give it to anybody else other than Formula Kareem.
Alex, how about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it is the boring option, but I think just looking through the grid, I mean, some people had some great drives. I mean, Gillen got drive of the day in game. He had a great drive from the back of the grid, but I'm sure some people would complain if I said Gillen for reasons of him getting back in the race. But I'm going to agree with Tom here and say that Kareem was just superior this afternoon. No one could touch him from start to finish.
Yeah, I agree on your stance where Gillen had some fantastic drives. Obviously, that maybe a little bit of controversy in the middle with the DNF and a reincarnation, shall we say, getting back into the lobby. Maybe, let's just say, not disqualifies him, but breaks him out. That guy Vince also a certain contender for driver of the day. I think it's not often that our drivers will endure mental fortitude in races such as that, but physical fortitude as well. So I think my vote has to go for Vince tonight.
Yeah, we hope he's all right as well. I'm sure that it will be updated by someone when we find out if he's actually okay. Because yeah, it's a pretty nasty thing. And also, don't go sharing around the clip on social media and stuff. Just let it be. It happened. We'll move on from it.
Certainly will do indeed. Great advice. And of course, we wish Vince all the best in his recovery. Wish it to be quick and wish him to see back on the F1 Creator Series very, very shortly. Alex, where can they check you out if they want to do so just a little bit more?
You can check me out on all my socials at Defling10 on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, and all those good places. That's where you'll find me mostly.
Tom, how about yourself?
T006 on the old Twitter, or as it is now known as X, and on TikTok. If you're a darts fan, wilco.darts over there.
If you want to check out any of the Creator Series socials, they're just above our heads. YouTube, Instagram, X or Twitter, and TikTok as well. All of those are at F1 Creator Series. Check out our producer as well behind the scenes. He always hates me shouting it out. At Gareth Allen TV for all of your producer needs. For myself, I'm at They Call Me TK on pretty much every single social media. And from us, from everyone behind the scenes and everyone at the Creator Series, firstly, get well soon, Vince. And secondly, good night. God bless.